Badlands, running to Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
We were sleeping. I've been sleeping. I've been turning away from a truth I wanted not to face. There is a wound that won't heal at the center of the galaxy. There is a darkness reaching like rust into everything around us. We let it grow, and now it's here.
How many men have you killed, my lord?
I don't know.
50? 100? Countless.
Countless has a nice ring to it.
And how many lives have you saved?
500,000. Population of King's Landing. Tell me if your precious Randy commanded you to kill your own father and stand by while thousands of men, women, and children burned alive, would you have done it? Would you have kept your oath then?
Our time has come. We prepared. We grew stronger. While you rested in your cradle of power, you were trusted to lead the Republic. But you were deceived. You assumed no force could challenge you. And now, finally, we have returned.
The visions are clear now. I see possible futures all at once. Our enemies are all around us. And in so many futures they prevail. But I do see a way. There is a narrow way through.
It's not a prophecy. It's a story that you keep telling, but it's not their story, it's yours. They deserve to be led by one of their own. What your people did to this world is heartbreaking.
We gave them something to hope for.
That's not hope!
We have survived by hiding from them, by running from them. But they are the gatekeepers. They are guarding all the doors, they are holding all the keys, which means that sooner or later, someone is going to have to fight them.
I wish none of this had happened. So do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. Forgive me. I did not see. I have failed you all. You will bring me. Captain Armor.
I do not know what strength is in my blood. But I swear to you, I will not let the White City fall. Our people fail. Our people. Our people.
I wish you good fortune in the wars to come. And now it begins.
No. Now it ends.
All right, guys, welcome to The Narrative, episode 42, Info War Posture, or Info War Posture. Should be a good one tonight. I see that expectations are already well beyond manageable. People, for some reason, think that there could be cuss words tonight, but I think we're actually going to rug everybody. I doubt either of us will get fired up about anything. It's going to be pretty calm. There's no cussing allowed. Also, both of us apparently are experiencing storms. So I had said, if I lose power, which is a distinct possibility, I'll try to get somebody to jump on, help my guest out. If she loses power, whichever one of us loses power, it's just going to become the other person's show. So we just have to deal with it. If we both do, then, I don't know, fuck you guys or something. But anyway, couple bits of housekeeping before I bring said guest on. Tonight we are brought to you mostly by ourselves. which is pretty cool these days. So we've got the first up, Badlands Shop. When your favorite Badlands show wraps up without a raid, I don't know if that's a shot at me because I don't know how to raid people, but it might be. Visit the Badlands website to explore our incredible sponsors. From products featured on the show to kickstarting your shopping list, the Badlands Shop has you covered. Every purchase you make is a powerful vote for the future you believe in. We make it easy to shop America first, supporting Badlands creators and patriot small businesses that champion freedom. You're not just buying a product, you're fueling a movement with every dollar spent. Thank you for supporting businesses that support Badlands. Head on over to badlandsmedia.tv, click shop on the menu, or go directly to badlandsmedia.tv/shop, and it'll bring you there. We're also brought to you today by Silent. Empower your right to disconnect with Silent Faraday cage bags. In a world where tech never sleeps, our mission is to keep you safe, private, and healthy. Our patented technology shields your devices from hacking, tracking, and EMF radiation, giving you autonomy over your digital life. Disconnecting sparks creativity, strengthens relationships, and brings peace of mind. With Silent, you get effortless gear built with integrity, always staying one step ahead to protect your data and security. Choose Silent, reclaim your freedom at a discount. Oh, sorry, I misread that. There is a discount, though, but I also misread that. Freedom to disconnect. badlandsmedia.tv/Faraday. Use the promo code Badlands to snag a 10% discount. That's badlandsmedia.tv/Faraday. Promo code Badlands. Okay. I also want to address the controversy. There is a show scheduled after this one at 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time called Q After Dark, which I assume is an all-nude, full frontal nudity version of a Q show. So that's with Brad, Alpha, and Josh, I believe. I don't know how to raid, so I won't raid you guys over there. Was this an attempt by the powers that be at Badlands to get me to stop doing 4-hour shows? I don't know, but I am willing to be really petty about it and just rant by myself into the dark reaches of the night just to screw that whole plan up. Anyway, the other bit of controversy is my guest herself, which is Shipwreck. How's it going?
Hello, it's good to see you. Thanks for having me. You only get me for like an hour, maybe an hour and a half max. I sit in front of these screens any longer, I get a migraine.
An hour?
Hour and a half max.
All right, how about hour and a half then? We'll go.
All right, hour and a half.
We'll see. It'll fly by. This is Shipwreck. We have not. I don't think we've appeared on a show together.
No, I don't think we have. I was supposed to do Badlanders one night, but I ended up having to go to football fundraiser that night, and I forgot all about it. So
yeah, you're doing that whole
I'm busy.
suburban life.
Yeah, I got these kids, and they play multiple sports, and like they're at the age where the parents need to be involved now and like sell the stuff and work the concessions and pay for So we're kind of, and I want to be very involved in that. So we're very involved in that. So that's just kind of how it rolls, and it kind of just it goes God, family, this, and you guys are important, and I love all of you. I do. Hello, I love all of you, but them kids, man.
This is the narrative audience. Don't talk to them like they're your audience all of a sudden. You're getting real familiar here.
Wednesdays, they're all I have to talk to.
We've barely even started to ease in, and you're just kind of wilding out already, which I expected.
Let me dial it back.
I have one of those kids now too. They are a lot of work. If you care about them and you want to be involved, like you said, you do that kind of thing. So I can dig it. The other bit of controversy I wanted to address, just to kind of make you feel a little bit unstable before we have a discussion, is I assumed that you were like a sourdough maximalist because you've been talking a lot of shit about it online. Is that not really how things have been going? Do you want to address that for the people?
I started a sourdough journey, and everybody started. This isn't like it shouldn't be. If people are fired up about it, you're not paying attention. It's not my job to catch you up. All right. I started this with everybody this summer. I bought all the stuff, and we built one, and it was good. It wasn't making bread worth a damn, but it looked like sourdough. It was the
thought that counts.
It was the thought that counted. You know what I mean? Maybe it's the friends we made along the way with it instead of the bread. And then we had to go. So our kids did travel ball this summer. And so we were gone a lot. And so it spent the majority of the second half of the summer in the fridge. And I went to go pull it out this fall, and it was green, and it smelled really bad. So I just threw the whole thing away.
Mrs. Bright tried that whole thing last year at first, and it took a real hit on her mental health.
Yeah.
Like mental and sense of sort of worth and everything. I was like, you're just trying to make bread. She didn't want me saying that. So
yeah, it's gross.
She had a tough time, but yeah, recently
and
though.
And you spend so much money on flour. It's ridiculous.
She doesn't tell me about that, but I just
lots of money. I was going through a bag of flour every week and a half or so, because you got to feed it every day. And it takes 6 or so weeks to get started. I was going through a lot. And
usually I'm trying to take care of our son, and she is over there feeding her
sourdough and talking nice to it.
Yep.
You have to talk nice to it too. Like that rice experiment. You ever watch the video with the rice experiment?
I don't think so.
Okay, so this lady, she took cups of rice and she placed them in 3 different containers and placed them in the exact same place in her kitchen. And then every morning when she woke up, they were on the counter. Every morning when she woke up, she spoke really nice to one. She completely ignored the other, and she spewed all kinds of gross hate at the third one, right? And I guess after a couple weeks, like the one she spoke nice to, it probably wasn't good to eat because it's been sitting on the counter, but it looked fine. The one that was ignored had a little bit of mold on it and was just kind of like funky looking, but the one that she spoke venom into was black.
I can believe that. There was a years and years ago, there was I think they called it the Japanese water experiment or crystal experiment or something similar sort of thing, where they were talking to water. I can get down with it. No, but the recent sourdough experiment is actually going really well. So
good for her.
She's figured it out, I guess. She's figured out how to make bread and pizza and all that stuff. So there's definitely some crossover with this new sourdough push and toxic nationalism that I think is good. Like toxic traditionalism.
They call it the trad wives. There was a trad wife trend on the TikTok, and that's kind of where the sourdough stuff started. And it started with like Ballerina Farms, who's but she's married to a billionaire, so I don't know how trad wifey actually are. But she's, they live on a cow farm. But yeah, I mean the trad wife thing, it was going viral for a long time, and people had real strong feelings. And I don't consider myself a trad wife. I stay home with my kids, and I did this for free for the first 5 years. I've only recently been getting paid for it. And I've been home with them, but I'm not the trad. I don't wear the dresses a lot. I do during the summer because it's hot, but I don't wear like the dresses. I don't prance around. I'm Adam Sandler mom. Like that's how I dress, but I get shit done. I manage my house. I manage our budget. This is what I do. I guess I'm a trad wife in essence. I make all the dinners and I serve everybody. I do that. But it got really like heated on TikTok about the trad wife stuff. And what I found what was really interesting is when the dust finally settled with it, the majority of young women out there were kind of on board because they were like, I hate my job. Like, let me just quit. Let me stay home. Let me make brownies. Let me raise rape. Because, and I've done both. Like I hustled the first 10 years. Well, I've hustled forever. I've had a job since I was 14. I hustled until my oldest was probably in his teens. And then our 2 younger ones were little, like still pretty little, like 5 and 3. And I hustled and I worked and we did all the stuff, right? And then the place that I worked at, I was in marketing. They were closing and they were going to Wisconsin. I was going to go to Wisconsin. So I just quit. And then I never really went back, sold insurance for a little bit, but never really went back into the workforce. And God, I'm so glad it happened. I mean, financially it was tough for sure. Financially it was tough, but man, I would have missed out. I have so many core memories of our kids that I got to be there for. I couldn't imagine now, like if we were to magically have another child, I couldn't imagine putting them in daycare. And
I feel like we're literally dealing with this conversation this year because this is our first kid, but even with just one, I do 2 jobs and like she's always been a workaholic and everything, but besides the fact that it's untenable in terms of just schedule and, it's like he's taking more work, not less. It's it's what you just said. Neither of us wants anything to do with doing daycare or anything. And, not to cast aspersions, my parents had to, her parents had to and everything. But we've been having a lot of those conversations. So we're going to try to make that happen. But
I have
it's stressful.
0 regrets. 0, none. Right. I have no regrets. If you're thinking about doing it, if you financially can, even if it's harder, even if you have to scrimp and save and budget and make all your meals from scratch, even if it's harder, I strongly encourage all women out there to try it. If you got a
well,
good
that's kind of
man,
what we've been thinking. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, if I feel like haven't, because obviously it comes up more this year than ever before with us. And it's like you said, even with it being hard financially, you don't really meet many women who chose to do that. And then they're like, yeah, I really fucked up. You know,
yeah,
like,
no, you don't. No, I
staying
haven't met
around my
any that
kids.
really, other than
Yeah.
the ones that got left. I mean, you see a lot
Yeah,
of that.
well, that's different. Right.
And that's a lot of the comments that I get too. Well,
Yeah.
just wait till your husband leave. Like, ma'am,
Yeah.
I have
It's a
anxiety.
lack of trust.
Yeah, I know exactly what it's like to live in the future, and I refuse to do that. I don't know that that's going to happen. But what if he doesn't?
Yeah.
Like, nobody talks about that. They're all like, but what
Right.
if he leaves you? What if he dies? What if this? What if this? Well,
Yeah.
if you're smart, you'd have a good plan in place. Okay. You have, whatever. And then two, but like, what if he doesn't?
Right.
What if he doesn't? What if you both live to, what if you die first? What if you both
even this, I named the show Infowar Posture, which there's a few things I want to get into with that. But even with this, it's like, that's a bit of a posture. It almost, me and Mrs. Bright talk about this a lot lately. The Hegelian dialectic and the way this societal engineering has gone, it's attacked us on so many different fronts and in such brilliant subversions. Like, the whole women's rights movement, not rights movements, but like women's empowerment movement. Yeah, feminism. And
feminism.
now now there's like neo-feminism, which is this whole different form of it. And even my mom will get really up in arms at times because she's not one of these like new retard feminists, but she's like, well, I'm a feminist. I was a working mom and all this. And it's like,
that feminism is different than this feminism.
But even that, it was designed, like hindsight's 2020, but it's like, it attacks the man and the woman, because the woman obviously it's to get them out of the household and away from their kids so the state can raise the kids, right? But for the men, men have this mental health crisis, a lot of them, about not being able to be the traditional man and be like, I've been agonizing for months and months and months, and like I've worked full-time, 2 jobs, and like make enough money to have a house and everything, but still it's stressful. So there's so many guys out there that it makes them feel like shit if they feel like they can't provide that for a stay-at-home mom and kids. And then you look back at the women's empowerment movement and it's like, well, what happened to men's wages? The workforce doubled. It's like, there's a lot of other things, but that's part of it.
Women are taking jobs that men could have. I'm an advocate. If you want to work, or if you want, I'm an advocate for women to choose whatever you want to do, right? But what I'm not an advocate for is for you to demean the stay-at-home moms or the stay-at-home wives, because I feel like, even like I said, I did both, and they're both hard in equal ways. Now, the stay-at-home mom thing, like I feel like I was able to step more into my feminine, and I can cook, and I cook for Substack, and I can bake, and I can try all these different meals. I'm tired, but I'm not tired like I was when I worked all day. Yeah. It's just different, and I'm satisfied.
There's not that little side of existential dread you bring home.
Correct. I can sleep. If the kids don't have school, we all get to sleep in a little bit, right? There's still a monumentous amount of work that goes into it, and then doing this on top of it. But I would never, if I could have done it all over again, we would have worked that out sooner. I feel like, especially right after my third one was born, I tried to go back to work. I wasn't at work very long when that third kid was born, because I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. And I feel like for men, like the women going into the workforce, they took away that the men have like this innate, like feral need to provide and protect.
Good ones.
Well,
just like women
men
should have a need to be good moms, but not, obviously there's some damaged people.
I think, and I think a lot of that has to do with society and social things that happen, and a lot of it has to do with the government and the drugs, and we get into that when the government brought drugs in, and that's a whole it's probably a whole nother show. But I feel like, and now, like, I feel like these young women, they want to, but we physically can't. Like it's impossible. It's impossible to try and start a family and not be on some kind of government assistance right now.
Well,
or
even
try to start a
stupid
family and have you not both be working.
Yeah. My jobs have always been, even before doing this, whatever the hell this stuff is,
whatever this
was always, I always did weird stuff. Like I was always a contractor and trying to start businesses and stuff. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's horrible. But like I've even been thinking recently, like, hey, yeah, we can make this happen. And I'm like, let me just look up, because we're on my wife. My wife is an employee with like a stable company. So it's like we're on her benefits, right? And it's another bit of the engineering is like, be careful about getting off of the employee system, because then I'm like, oh, we'll just buy insurance. So then I go look, I'm looking, and I'm in Massachusetts, so you're doubly screwed. And I'm looking up, I'm like, oh yeah. She's like, yeah, what's it going to cost for our insurance? I'm like, more than our mortgage, probably.
More, yeah.
If we want to stay on something like this, something like we're on.
We pay $1,500, and that's through my husband's work.
Mine's probably going to be over $2,000. I would say.
Easily. If you're going to pay private, easily. Yeah. But then it kind of comes down to the conversation: do we even need insurance? And I did a video on this a couple weeks ago. So I went to the chiropractor, and because I get migraines, I go to the chiropractor, and he's taking insurance off of everybody's thing. I've been going to this guy for years. And he's like, I just want to let you know I'm not running through your insurance anymore. We're just going to take cash. And I said, oh, well, okay. And then he kind of explained to me why. And so if I were to run it through my insurance, United Health, if we run it through insurance, it was $85. So I came with $100 because it's always $85. He's like, if I don't run it through insurance, it's $50.
Yep.
What are you talking about?
It's amazing that that's a thing. Everyone knows it's a thing, and they're just allowed to have different prices for the same thing. That's why, though, this is why, like, I'm an equal opportunity FU to a lot of different people. And I try to be equal about that. Like, not so much in forgiveness, but definitely in accusations. And for, like, my parents are liberal, and they will talk about the insurance crap, and they're like, oh, it's the evil insurance companies. I'm like, yes, we can agree that the insurance companies are evil. But you know who gets a pass a lot of the time is the doctors and the medical professionals. It's like, you know why it's an $85 fee for the insurance? Because the doctors, I'm not saying a specific doctor, but the doctors know that the insurance company has to pay for it. So, like, when you go to the hospital, the insurance company isn't setting the prices. The hospital is setting the prices. And the reason the hospital sets the prices so high is because the insurance companies are legally bound to pay whatever the hospital is charging them, basically. Then they have all this arbitrage crap they play with each other, right? Of like threats going back and forth. But like my wife's dad worked as a purchaser in the medical industry and was talking about this a few years ago. Just like, yeah, it's just this bidding war where the hospitals and the insurance companies play this game where the hospitals know the insurance companies have to cover things, but the insurance companies know that if they don't cover it all, the patient's not going to. So they're basically playing a game of chicken constantly, and we are the arbitrage. Like, but yeah, it's insane.
What's even worse is like people who are on Medicaid. So if you get Medicaid insurance, like low income insurance, so if you have to go into an ambulance and you have Medicaid, let's say that ambulance ride is $100. Well, Medicaid's only going to pay $85 of that. Well, the hospital's not going to pick up what's left. It gets pushed off to private insurance, which is why they charge you those astronomical prices to begin with, so that they can cover what they're not making from the thousands and thousands of people who are on Medicaid. That wild.
Yeah. It's absurd. And that's where you do get into these difficult decisions where it's like, I would love to say, just F insurance and everything. But I had a lot of injuries when in my 20s and then they carried over. And so like there's the people that are just like, just F it all. And it's like, yeah, well, unless like you need your shoulder reconstructed by somebody who knows what they're doing, then you're like, well, I got the bill and the bill was $100,000 and I paid $2,000 because I had insurance, right? So that's how they get you there. They're like, what if something happens?
Yeah, it's everybody. And I feel like that was done by design too.
Yeah.
Like what if social construct that goes on. Everybody is so anxious. And I feel like that's done intentionally, which like, and then you watch it. You can watch what even like our government does, right? They're like, the shutdown is coming. The Schumer shutdown. Yeah. They talked about this for 2 weeks. The Schumer shutdown is coming. We're going to shut it down. The government's going to shut down unless everybody gets on board. The lights are going to get turned off, and they scare all these people. And then they get shut down. And the only people that are really affected are the people that aren't going to get paid. Okay. And that sucks. And I'm sorry that you have a government job and you're not going to get paid, but that's kind of what you signed up for. Like you knew that was going to be a thing. Okay. Fair. But Trump's going to pay you with the tariffs now, from what I understand, the WIC and military so far. I think that's going to continue.
Right.
But so they keep everybody on the edge of their seats with all of the rhetoric and in politics. They just keep everybody like teetering and the teasing. And I think that's why people are so strung out all the time. And they live in the land of what ifs. Like they live in this land of perpetual trauma, like this survival mode. We are in constant survival mode. People can't sleep. People's mental health is shit. People are addicted to their phones. And if they're not addicted to their phones, they're addicted to something else. It's just, and I feel like that was done. That's done intentionally, because if you have a society that's healthy, mentally, physically, emotionally, you know, they're going to be a lot harder to control. It's going to be a lot easier for us to pay attention to what you're doing if we're not constantly having to worry about where our next meal is coming from, or worry about if our husband's going to leave us because we've been a stay-at-home mom for 5 years. You know, it's this cycle. It's awful. I hate it. I hate them fuckers.
Well, it loops back into what you mentioned there about the, you know, fear of husbands leaving and everything. And it's funny because it's like I've had family members who talk about that. And, you know, people who've dealt with divorce and all that. But it's like, well, that's why you're telling your daughter not to do the stay-at-home mom thing. You might be right in that specific scenario, but you are programming your daughter with a defensive posture going into like relationships and going into that scene, right? Like if you're raised, and a lot of these women don't know they're doing it. They don't, that's not what their intention is. Yeah, but it's like, oh, now make sure that whoever you're dating, make sure that like you're taken care of and you can go after anything you need to go after, and make sure that you take care of yourself and you don't need no man. And it's like, all right, well, I mean, as you said earlier, there's the women instincts, but then there's the men instincts. It's like, well, men in an ideal world, the good ones, want to take care of somebody and they want to feel appreciated and they want to feel like, I'm helping out, and you know, a lot of the women are going in with this posture of like, that's not what I want. It's like, all right, well then we don't really have anything to offer each other anymore at this stage.
No, I agree. There was like a whole divorce culture in the 90s, like the early 90s. All your movies were about divorced women and out there, and they were being boss babes and like
modern families.
Yeah, modern families, the broken families, the step families, the step kids, the single moms. You know, you didn't see a lot of single dads, a lot of single moms, and how cool it was and how awesome it was, and deep. And we all wanted to be like deep and like thoughtful, and you know, sitting in our office and like the 90s attire and looking out,
having coffee in Manhattan,
having coffee and like meetings because we're single moms and we're just hustling. No, that's bullshit. They romanticize that entire, because I used to think so too. Yeah. And then they romanticize that entire thing. This is so much better. This is so much better to stay home with your kids.
I don't know if you saw a couple of years ago, I think it was, I forget her name, but it was the woman who wrote, I don't know if it was books or just she wrote the series, but the woman who wrote Sex and the City, or that it was based off of, she did an interview a couple of years ago, and they were like, she was in her, I think, late 50s at this time, or mid 50s. And they're like, do you have any regrets? And she was like, yeah, I regret like a lot of my life. And the main character girl there, Sarah Jessica Parker, is based on her. So it was that whole socialite, Manhattan, like work your way up the corporate ladder, be the hear me roar type of thing. Screw 600 guys. And they're like, well, what do you regret? She's like, well, I really underestimated like the amount of regret I would have for not having a family and not having a stable life. Because she's like single at 55 or whatever she is. And, you know, it was this real sad and funny moment, I think. Those are the best kinds, where it's like, well, you kind of fucked a whole generation of women with that kind of thinking. And it was obviously not going to work out that way, but to see like the people who set that culture now experiencing the consequences of it, even though she's really wealthy, and it's like she is miserable as this super wealthy socialite woman who has no more capital, no more dating capital, like no fulfillment, no family, and how many women kind of followed in those footsteps. It's like, all right, sorry, but when you're in your late 30s, like, and you have cultivated a personality as just an asshole, there's not a huge market for you.
No, and I think that, but that goes back to like, again, that was like Hollywood's social engineering. I mean, they wanted that to be that. They wanted women to be strong, independent forces, and if they couldn't, it was okay because the government could step in. And if they couldn't, it was okay. If you have to go to work, it's okay. The government daycare can watch your kids.
Right.
And I'm not coming down on everybody that has to send their kids to daycare. That's not this. Okay. I get it. What I'm saying is that if you have regrets about sending your kids to get to daycare or having to hustle and it's not your fault.
Right.
It really isn't. And you were programmed. Maybe you were, maybe you weren't. I don't know. Maybe it was your situation is different, but I was programmed into, I had this great job. I was making a ton of money at the time. And I had this really nice apartment that overlooked my whole area in a really nice part of town. I had a balcony, and I had a kid at that point. Because I had a kid. I had my first kid at 19, so we were like hustling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we got here, and it was awesome. And I thought I had really made it. And it wasn't until we had our third then that I realized that I hate this. Like, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing at all. And I'm so glad that I turned that around, at least for my other two kids. And I said this before in a video, like my biggest regret in my life, and I'll probably carry this for the rest of my life, is not being able to give my oldest kid the childhood that I'm able to give to my younger two. They get to stay home during the summer, sleep in, play all the sports, go out to their friends. I drive them wherever they need. I am at their every beck and call. And that's my biggest regret in life, is that I was not able to do that for my oldest. That I didn't have.
I think kids understand that more though.
He does, and he grew up to be an amazing man. I mean, he's got a
sometimes
good job.
It goes both ways. Like I've had my in my family there was substance abuse problems that have since, a lot of good ways that story ultimately went. But my family has deep regrets about like, okay, maybe what I was exposed to, maybe whatever you expose your kids to. But then it's like, well, yeah, but then on the other hand, if you're then raised by parents who love you, that's what I've always said. Like, if your kids know that you unconditionally love them, as corny as it is, it counts for a lot. Where I see a lot of people talk about like, yeah, I came from a really tough home environment, and they'll talk about circumstances of like, oh, this parent was a drug addict, or this parent was an alcoholic, or this one was never home or something. They talk about circumstances, but I think the problem usually, the kids who end up in shitty adult situations, is more that they don't feel like they've got that connection. Whereas like I had parents who worked all the time, and I had to go to daycare and all that kind of stuff, but like I knew unconditionally they loved me the whole time. Whereas I know kids that on paper had a way better childhood, like they lived in the nice suburban house and everything, but then they were all fucked up because like daddy issues and mom's kind of weird and broken family type of thing. So, obviously the ideal is to get both, but
right.
Be stable with both. But I think it's way more important that the kid has like the parents' love rather than the circumstances of an on paper really stable environment.
I would agree with that. Both my husband and I were raised in very unstable homes. I feel like he grew up in Vegas, so his was like way
that's crazy,
deeper than mine. But mine wasn't either. My parents were divorced. We spent weekends at my dad's, and then we spent weeks at my mom's. And my mom was married to another guy, and he had a bunch of kids. And nobody like, I can remember like nobody helped me with my homework. I'm doing the mom thing now. Like, and it's like I have to go through this whole healing portion of myself right now, because my kids are at the age that I was at when I wasn't. Like, nobody helped me with my homework. Nobody checked my report card. Nobody went to my parent-teacher conferences. Nobody drove me to practice. Nobody drove me home. Nobody came to my games. My old man would come to my games occasionally, but that whole situation was super toxic. And so, like, my mom wouldn't tell him when they are, and the whole toxic, right? And so I'm going through, and we're raising our kids now, and my husband's coaching them in basketball, and he's showing up to all the practices, and at least one of us is at every single game somewhere. And I have to go through this whole, like, I have to make sure that I'm not overcompensating because this is not what I got as a kid. So there's like this whole awareness that's going on right now. At the same time, trying to balance like what I didn't experience versus what I'm trying to give them.
Yeah.
Thinking that's what I needed in the moment. And like, we just had this conversation with our kid because he had a big, a lady came and talked to the school about online bullying and online, like sending nudies. Don't do that. Don't send pictures of anything to anybody. Don't open strange files. That whole online conversation, right? And so she had talked to him about how online bullying often led to teen suicide. And my middle kid came home and he's like, I just don't understand why somebody would kill themselves over it. He's like, just shut your phone off. And I'm like, well, that's because you have a good life at home.
You've got a stable social environment.
Yeah, and a good life at school.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
But let's say I said you had a bad life at home, and then the good life that you had at school fell apart because of some text messages that got sent or some pictures, right? And now you've got nowhere to go, and you feel worthless, and you've got no one to turn to, and it's your only. Yeah. And he's like, I never even thought of it that way. Yeah. I said that's why it happens the way it is, and that's why your dad and I are so like invested in making sure that we're here. Like we're here. We're as hands on or as hands off as you need us to be. Like this is your place to come to when you need to just shut your phone off, and this is your place, your safe place. And a lot of kids just don't have that.
We've had conversations this year just about, of course, when you become a parent, it like changes everything. Everybody knows that again on paper, but you don't know it until you have a kid, which everybody says who has a kid. So I'm saying all the annoying shit that all the parents say. But one of the things we've talked about is like, everybody's got different kinds of trauma, right, in their childhood. And I'm like, yeah, but it's funny because when I reverse engineer some of my trauma, it probably helped cultivate some of the good aspects of my personality and bad ones, I'm sure. Yeah. But so then we have the conversation of like, what if your kid is not traumatized at all, and then grows up pussy, to be like coddled? I'm like, did becoming a kickboxer like give me good trauma or just head trauma? Right. Did I fight because I was compensating for childhood trauma or not? And then I'm like, okay, so how do I traumatize my son in a really productive way?
I can do to just fuck you up. Come here.
Yeah, it's so I'm like, well, my cop out, you just reminded me of it with how you said like overcompensating and everything. Is I'm like, you know what, if you there's a movie I just thought of that I can't think of now. It's The Watchmen comic book. I'm a nerd if you couldn't tell by the intro to this show. So there's a movie, Watchmen, based on a graphic novel. And one of the characters, Dr. Manhattan, is like omnipotent, like a god kind. He basically can see all possibilities at once. So when he gets afflicted with this superpower, he starts disassociating from like his wife. And the wife is talking to another guy in the movie in one scene, and she says, I can't even tell if John still cares about me or if he's pretending to care. And the guy says, if he's pretending, then he cares.
Right.
And
he's trying to...
Yeah. Well, I've thought of that with kids too, where it's like, well, if you're overthinking about how do I be a better mom or something, you're probably a fucking awesome mom. Because it's like the ones who are
worried
not.
That you're like a shitty mom. If all you can remember is the bad stuff that you did, because I do that too. Like all I can remember that one time that I screamed at him and yelled at him when I shouldn't have. That one time when I didn't show up. If that's all you can remember and you worry constantly about it, you're a good mom. I had the same conversation about narcissists. Like, because somebody asked me, they're like, how do you know you're not a narcissist? And I'm like, well, if you're questioning whether or not you're a narcissist,
right.
You're not a narcissist.
Like, narcissists don't question that. They're just like, I'm great.
Yeah, you're fine. Like, if you had this deep, like, inner monologue as to whether or not you're a narcissist and you really thought about it, you're not a narcissist. You probably just got some anxiety. Yeah. You'll be okay.
Okay, this sets us up. I'm keeping you for 90 minutes. That's what we're going to do.
You are. We have topics.
Yeah, so what usually happens is people know who watch the show is I like come up with topics that are basically things I ignore. I just go where the episode goes. Okay. But I do want to hit we'll hit a couple little actual things, stories, and then the theme that you just kind of set us up for. So the theme that we'll end the show with is I want to talk about I want to make a defense for bullying, good bullying.
We need to bring back shame.
Yeah. So all that being said, there's a time and a place for bullying. But before we get to that, you actually brought up one of the things I wanted your take on that I'm sure everybody has an idea, which is the government shutdown. And just like what you're in your whole theater, you post your videos and everything. How are you feeling not just about the shutdown, but about what you think the national kind of reaction or mood to it is?
Nobody cares. Unless you're not getting paid.
Yeah.
Okay. then you should care. If you're not getting paid, nobody else cares. Nobody cares. Nobody gives a shit. Their life, they're not even talking about it. We're all talking about $7,000 in Laura Loomer in Israel. That's all we're talking about right now.
Yep.
We're not, nobody cares. Like,
Yeah.
I made a video about it because Marjorie Taylor Greene posted something called the nuclear, I say this wrong every time, nuclear option.
John does too, but he's an idiot.
Well, that's what
No
he does.
pressure.
How do you say it? Nuclear.
Are you trying to say nuclear?
Nuclear.
Yeah.
I said it
I mean,
right.
if you want to say it that way, that's fine.
What the fuck? How do you say it?
That's it. It's
Where's
fine.
John?
I mean,
Is
you
he
can
in
say
here?
it that way.
Okay, fine. Nuclear. Nuclear.
Yeah, sure.
The nuclear. No, you know what?
See, now you fucked it up.
Why did I
It
even
was
agree? Come
good,
on.
actually.
Nuclear
So you got
option. And the nuclear option, the Republicans could use, and they could use that, and they could push through all the legislation they want. Now, historically, neither party likes to use it because it kind of sets precedents that party's not going to be in power like forever. And so then when the next party comes into power, they're also going to use this. No party really used it. But according to Marjorie Taylor Greene, the GOP did use it in order to push through Trump's confirmations. Now, a lot of people were like, well, I don't think it's ever been used on a continuing resolution. And I don't think it has either, but that doesn't mean that it can't be. So if you really want to get to the balls of it, they could open up. But as always, the GOP is a spineless, worthless institution. It always has been. It always probably will be. I feel like this is all theater to keep people on the edge, or I don't even really know. Like, because people don't care this round. They just don't give a shit. What I am noticing is that Trump is starting to pay out these programs that matter to people, like the military and the WIC benefit program, not SNAP. Okay?
What's the WIC program?
WIC is where, like, you get a newborn. If you have a newborn, you can apply for WIC, and WIC gives you formula and baby food and fruits and veggies, bread, cheese, milk, like the government.
I'm in
funded.
favor of that. Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, well,
and
the
so am I.
government fucked us, so it's like, you know, there is that thing where I notice as a former liberal, conservatives will go all the way to like free market, and it's like we don't have a free market. So there is some level of conversation to be had about if the government is going to exist, which maybe it shouldn't, then I'm in favor of them being like, have kids and we'll give you money for them as long as you're not doing stupid shit.
That's another problem that I have with the GOP. All of, especially like the conservative, like what do they call it? What do you call it? Con Ed, not Con Ed.
Con Inc.
Con Inc. That is the problem I have with Con Inc. A lot of it. I'll have a lot of problems with Con Inc. and we can get into that if you want to. But one of my bigger problems with Con Inc. is that they always say that. And I love Benny Johnson. We're mutuals, right? I love him. Okay. I think he's entertaining at best. Okay. I do. I do. He gives me news I want to hear it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why I follow him. But he's big on have many babies, have several babies, have 7 babies. And we're all out here like, bitch, like we can't afford to wipe our own asses right now. What do you want? You want to go out and have more kids?
Yeah.
Like we can't. Daycare is astronomical. We couldn't afford to have single family income households if we couldn't even afford to have a household right now. Nobody can buy a house. Nobody can put gas in their car. Nobody can buy a used car for less than $10K. Nobody can afford food. Nobody. My electric bill. I live in the poorest fucking county in this state. My electric bill was $300 in the 4 or 5 years that we've lived here. This year, for whatever reason, it is now running on average $550. I'm like, what even happened? And she's like, well, you're using, ma'am, I'm not using more. Most of my crap's LED and it charges. Like, we're not using more. Everything is so crazy expensive, but Con Inc. wants to come out here and be like, I have babies and we need to have more white babies that are Christians. And it's like, we can't afford shit. You need to do something to fix this economy and fix it now. Right now,
to be more like the Russians.
Otherwise, what you're going to have is you're going to have a bunch of irresponsible girls go out and get themselves pregnant and then have to depend on the government in order to make it by. That's
like
what's
the
going to happen. You don't. What's that?
I said like the blacks. It's just one of my
is. Well, and like there's a certain I think the percentage is higher.
They all know it now. They're all talking about it openly, at least these days. Like
it's not.
We understand how it happened. It was, and that's government related as well. Like all that crap, right? It's like you can't throw a rock without seeing a problem the government made. Yeah,
they put drugs into the poor black neighborhoods and got the dads hooked on drugs, and then took them to jail, and then the women were left without the dads, and so then the women had to go on government. And this all happened in the poor black neighborhoods.
Yeah,
I can't remember what it was called. It was like a whole operation, and they did this. And
I know it.
But we're kind of in the same place now. Like we can't you want us to go out and have all these babies. You want people to go out, you want these kids. But then on top of that, okay, these kids went to college and they got $200,000 in student loan debt, which is fine. Yes, you need to pay it back, but you're retarded if you think that they should be paying a 20% interest rate on these loans. Yes, they were kids. Yes, it was stupid. They were 19. They had zero financial literacy. They were fucking hunted by these banks and by the federal government in order to take these loans out with promises of great jobs that were going to pay double that amount every single year. Now the majority of them are working at Starbucks, but you want them to get married and go have babies. Like they can't afford to do that. And I need you to start talking about that rather than just talking about, hey, go have more babies.
Yeah,
we can't
absolutely.
all go fuck around with Elon Musk and get monthly $1 million child support.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I think there's actually an interesting tension in the conservative world, which is why I don't consider myself conservative.
I don't know.
But I like this whole, this is why we talk about these things in sort of the truth community. I talk about Russia a lot, and there's a lot of bad in history. But one of the funny things is I find there's an inner tension and a cognitive dissonance among many in the MAGA core, where they will, on the one hand, it's like less government, no government, etc. But then on the other hand, it's like Trump did this, Trump did this, Trump did that. And I'm a huge Trump guy, but I think it's because what we talk about on DPH a lot, he's trying to strip down the government. But things that like Putin has done, for example, is that is socialism, but I think it's good, is they were like, well, in the 90s and, throughout the 20th century, the Russian population was just in full decline because it was horrible, Soviet Union, all that kind of stuff. So now, like every kid you have, the government is like, we're going to give you this, we're going to give you this, we're going to give you this benefit and this benefit and this benefit. And for the first time ever in the last like 10, 15 years, their native-born population is on the rise. Like they've got a middle class rising. Doesn't mean we mimic Russia, but there's real conversations to be had in the U.S. about that.
Israel.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. If you have a baby in Israel, you get $1,500 right out the gate to ensure that you have everything you need. And then that baby, until they are, 18, gets a monthly allowance. That mother gets a monthly allowance for that baby, period. Mm-hmm. And you get, I think, if I remember right, Israel has free healthcare, free-ish healthcare. It comes out of your paychecks or something, but it's very minimal. They pay anywhere from $5 to $10 per their prescriptions. They pay anywhere from $11 to $15 to see a specialist with this healthcare. Yeah. Their wait times are fine. I mean, it's every other country is living like their best life except for this one. And it's people get so mad when I talk about this, and I don't know why. Like, why is me being fired up about Russia or about Israel getting all this free stuff bothering you so much? And it's like, well, they deserve it. One of the arguments I got was because they're God's people. And I'm like, I'm not even going to fucking do this. Like, I bought a Bible. I bought a Bible so I could go look this verse up, Ted Cruz. Okay. That's not how it's supposed to go. Israel was a people, not a place, not a government, not a Netanyahu. Okay. Yeah. It was a people. And we are all. See,
sometimes I think it gives you an advantage. Like, I'm not somebody who's very learned in the Bible, but I've asked people who are, and I'm like, it feels like some of the most common sense things are the things people who are really versed on biblical teachings are having the most trouble with, which is exactly with the Israel thing. It's like, it's such a taboo to just say, as somebody who's not a scholar, a biblical scholar, it seems rather obvious that there was a people and then there was a political nation state codified by a North Atlantic organization in the aftermath of a engineered war. Like, these are two
1947.
These are two different things.
I know.
But
you can't talk. That's the thing. It's like, you can't talk to these. This is where the paid influencers are a real fucking problem. And I get it. Like, everybody's like, oh, but I've been bagging on Laura Loomer all week. I'm going to continue to bag on her maybe. I don't know. I kind of gave her a break this morning because I felt kind of bad. She's on this like poor me campaign. And I'm like, well, you kind of open the door up yourself to this. Like, anyway, but that's where this is so dangerous, because you've got people out here that they're so indoctrinated still.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And a lot of people are like, I just don't understand how they're so indoctrinated. A lot of people would say this to me about COVID, or like when Tucker went to Russia, because ever since I was growing up, it was always be afraid of Russia. Russia's coming, Cold War, Ukraine war. If Ukraine doesn't win the war, Russia's coming for the United States next, right? That was their big thing. And that kind of petered out because obviously they did not come. And then Tucker went to Russia and he showed just how great things were clean, and there was no homeless people and there was no needles, and it was just clean, right? He kind of showed everybody, and that kind of broke people's indoctrination of Russia, right? But then it seemed like when the Israel stuff happened, those same people just fell right back into it.
Yeah.
And they're right into it. They're like, you need to open your Bible. And I'm like, I don't think I do, because I feel like there's a difference between Christians and Jews. Okay. It's my understanding that the secular Jews, the Jews that live in Israel that practice Judaism, do not believe in Jesus Christ. And I think that's like the moral of the whole Jesus Christ story, right? There was a bunch of Jews. We were all Jews. And then Jesus was like, hey, the King Jew is bad. You should probably not have to pay tax. Whatever he said. I don't know. I'm not that deep into it yet. Right.
He was pretty based from what I understand.
Yeah, right. Hung out with hookers. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Right. And so he was like, hey, you shouldn't have to pay taxes for shrimps on treadmill. This is bullshit, right? And then the Jew government was like, hey, we don't like what he's had to say. And then the Jew government got a whole bunch of people to agree with them. And then they killed Jesus because people were starting to follow Jesus. And they were like, hey, he's probably right. But then those people became Christians. And so there's a huge difference between the two religions. And so I don't understand why everybody is constantly trying to be like, if you're not America first, then you're anti-American, or if you're not Israel first, if you're not willing to stand with Israel, you're anti-American. That doesn't make any sense, because our country was founded on the moral beliefs, on the moralities of a Christian faith. And Christianity and Judaism do not go together. One killed the leader of the other, right? And then he rose from the dead, and it's Easter. We're getting there. I'm Catholic. You would think I'd know more about this, but I don't. So none of that makes any sense, Loomer. None of that makes any sense. You're not going to come out here and tell these people who have had their asses kicked for the last 7 fucking years, thanks to Joe Biden, Joe Biden's clone, the pen, I don't know, some administration, probably ran by Netanyahu as well, okay, who've had their accounts banned, who've had their monetizations taken away, who've had their neighbors turn on them, their family turn on them, their friends turn on them. You are not going to come out here and tell these people after all of that, after they fought so hard, after we got through the 2024 election, after we won, after we were red, after we scraped and we clawed and we got back, you were not going to stand there with your fake ass face and tell these people that they are not Americans because they don't believe in the same bullshit that you do. That's crap.
Well, and believe,
Sorry.
I mean, co-signed, amen. But I would just say, I'm not saying you don't understand this, but I think
I probably don't.
I'm not talking about the situation. I mean, you just said because we don't believe what you believe. I fully agree with that. Let's take that as one reading of the premise, right? These people, Loomer, and the rest of what that represents.
All of them.
There's the ones that believe, the true believers in whatever they're saying, who are retarded, so therefore not worth anything. Then there's my interpretation. So when I use the word con Inc., when I use the term con Inc., a lot of us use that term, and we probably all mean slightly different things by it. We apply it to different things. For me, Benny Johnson is con Inc., but other people don't think so.
I do.
He would look at me and say I'm an asshole, right? It is what it is. So for me, the terminology of con incorporated, it's not people that I don't like who believe things I don't agree with. That's not what I'm thinking when I say that terminology. What I'm thinking is people who are either paid to believe something, or people who know that they are following, as my friend Chris Paul would say, they are following social incentive structures and
for clicks,
monetary incentive structures to believe, to project belief, right?
Do you think they really believe it though?
No, that's my point. Is I think most of them do not. So when I talk about Con Inc., my whole problem with Con Inc. is I don't think these people believe any of the shit that they're saying, because you can see this.
Because how can you come out and do this to people who are on the fence, who are tired, who are beat up, who have to work all day, who pay their taxes? How you come out here and manipulate these people and then just go to sleep at night?
Sociopaths, narcissists, as you said earlier.
They can't all be narcissists. Like, that's like a personality disorder. We got a big fucking problem, right? I can't.
I think there's a difference between like, I call them kind of mind movers, narrative setters. There's the big accounts and big figures. Like, I do think a lot of them can be narcissists and sociopaths. But the general population that ends up adopting these views, it's like we talked about at the beginning of the show with a lot of these neo-feminists. You know, is every neo-feminist some narcissist freak? No, most of them are not. It's like they've been engineered to think that what they're saying is right. So I'm not saying everybody who's projecting this Israeli shit, like this humiliation ritual, or not a humiliation ritual, but a struggle session. It's like a communist struggle session is what goes on. If you talk about Israel, you get hit with a communist struggle session. Some of it comes from within MAGA of these Zionists. And a lot of those people, I think, are operating based off of being tricked into believing these things, either by their religious institutions or these figures. I think the people setting the narratives, though, I put them in a different category. Like, when you are setting the narratives, usually there is an incentive for you to be doing so. And recently, you know, it doesn't have to tie to every specific figure we're talking about or have proof of it. But obviously, something that I saw you tweeting about and we've been talking about, now everybody is starting to find out in Normieville that a lot of these people are paid by governments to hold the beliefs that they hold, right? So then do you look at a person like that and say, do you really believe this? Like, when you go to a car dealership, when you go to a Chevy dealership, and you take your dad with you, does your dad believe that the guy who's selling you an Impala is actually the world's biggest fan of Chevy Impalas and thinks that is the best car in the world? Like, everyone knows that that's not what's happening, right? Because everyone understands this is a transaction and you are incentivized to sell me something. People need to take that mentality in when they're looking at Laura Loomer's timeline and Benny Johnson's timeline. Like, there are people that are paid either directly or through incentive structures because they know which opinions make them money. And you can track this by seeing which of these conning faggots was against Trump 1 month, and then for him another month, and then against him another month, and then you track that in line with the polling of when Ron DeSantis was doing well and when he wasn't doing well. And it's weird. It's like their opinions kept changing based on what they thought more people were going to pay them for. So I think it's going on with the political world.
But how do you, God, there's got to be some kind of like...
Your problem, Ship, is you're coming at this from the perspective of being a moral person. We are dealing with something different here, is what I would say.
But it bothers me so much because here's why. Because a lot of us, Benny Johnson included, Benny Johnson was one of the first people I followed on Instagram when I started doing this back in 2017. And he wasn't very big deal then. Like I don't want to say he was a nobody, but he wasn't a huge deal. Laura Loomer, I used to follow her too. Followed all these people, right? And over the course of the years, it became very obvious that the left is getting paid. The left, they accused them too.
Right.
And now we're coming out and they're kind of doing that. How can you just manipulate? You took down all of mainstream media. You were so proud of that. All of Connick, we are the media now in your bio, right? I never put it in my bio because I'm not the media. I'm here for entertainment purposes only, probably, right? They were like, we are
whatever
the
you're supposed
now.
To say to not get
right, whatever. And there was like this collective perfect. And I remember like sitting here being like, okay, it was CNN was crashing, right? Nobody watched CBS, nobody was watching award shows, like everybody was getting laid off. Don Lemon lost his job, everybody getting fired because the ratings are in the trap. I was like, okay, we are the media now. This is great. And then it wasn't a month. And I was like, that looks like a paid for post. Mm-hmm. Like, what are you doing? And then...
Yeah, who was it? DC Drano, who was listed on the... I forget the organization's name. They scrubbed him right off of there. That's why the Red Binders op, we had said at the time that it happened, and it ended up really getting exposed more than I could have hoped. But at the time, most of us at Badlands did say, this is these people all just got tagged Like the red, you got a red folder. Like that didn't really mean maybe what you thought it meant.
But they still are out here.
Mm-hmm.
And people are still following them. I don't know how much are real people and how much are bots. Like I wish just one time, like there would be a little bit of justice. Just a little bit of, you know what? X did this huge bot eradication, right? And libs of TikTok lost half her followers. Like it just became so obvious. But we don't get those kind of wins. And I hate being stuck on that because this isn't about winning necessarily. It's just, I just hate it. I hate all of it. I hate it so much. We worked so hard to prove to people that the mainstream media was nothing but a propaganda machine that was owned by a bunch of Jewish families. And this is why you're seeing what you're seeing. And now we've got the exact same thing only coming from influencers, and they're just not hiding it anymore. They're just not hiding it. Netanyahu had an entire meeting with these kids and then
including Tim Pool,
and then put it on the internet.
Yeah.
He's like, and then you know what nobody talks about? You know what nobody talks about from that meeting? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
When he's asking the question and he's like, what is the most important purchase that is happening right now? Do you know what they said before he said TikTok? They said followers. And they all said it. They were like, followers. Followers are the like, are you buying your followers so none of this is real? I mean, like I knew, but you just admitted it.
Yeah.
And then nothing happens.
Yeah. Yeah. The good thing that's happening though, because I feel the same way, but is we try to call it out. And it feels like that used to be, actually, this is kind of really the macro theme that I want to discuss. That's why I called it info war posture, because I think having this posture is the right thing. I actually saw a post of yours earlier that delves into this that I loved. And my wife is a massive fan of the movie this meme comes from.
Is this the...
You can't sit with us.
ChatGPT did, or Grok did so good with this.
This is a perfect statement you make right here that dovetails into this conversation. If you would have asked me a couple years ago if a party divided was a good thing, I absolutely would have said no. Now I can't put into words how much we the people needed to split from folks who obviously chose a foreign nation over our own. America first means Americans first. Now, obviously, you're responding to a specific thing there. You know, you mentioned the Israel of it all. But I think that stance, that's what I mean by info war posture. So even when you're talking about these conning people, and one of the things that we say, and a lot of our audience is pretty damn base. You see if you come to events too, like they're all yelling at their screens right now, like, yeah, totally. I thought that's why I'm fucking here, right? That's why I'm not on Benny Johnson's like Twitter feed. That's why they end up here. It doesn't mean we're right about these things, like everything that comes out. It more means one of the things that we have been attacked about the most in the last couple of years, and that has caused a bit of a sifting, is this idea of unity. I call it toxic unity or toxic positivity. And people sometimes think, and I even saw a Rumble rant that I'll get to later. Thanks for the subs, Micro, as well. I saw you gifted people subs. There's a difference between saying I'm against unity as a concept. That's not what I mean when I say that, but that's what people straw man against me. I mean, I am against a brand of unity, and this, what you're talking about, is a perfect example. A lot of these mainstream media people, Chris Paul, for years, he was way ahead of the curve on it. He's like, so all the mainstream media people getting fired and laid off are now becoming the biggest figures with huge media deals on social media, right? Like where the biggest audience is. So the whole MAGA core talks about how cable news is dead and their ratings are down, and how the internet and X is the future. And then these media personalities get big shows that trend on X and they get boosted, and all of MAGA does a victory lap, like, Tucker Carlson's ours now. We got him. He's ours now. And then, as Chris pointed out, I think it was a month ago, the same company that I believe owns Fox now owns, or he has a deal with them again. So now, like, you know, and whatever, mileage varies on these people.
He's back at Fox.
Yeah, not Fox, but similar management company. Whoever, somebody in chat will know who I'm talking about.
Okay.
But either way, the idea is, it's the new mainstream media. They have branded themselves as just guys doing podcasts, right? And it's like,
we're just everyday bros out here driving 2025 Ford Explorers. You sons of bitches.
Yeah. So it's to me, what I mean about the toxic unity thing, and it made me think of it with your post there. If you can't sit with us, There's a middle ground maybe, but people are too nice in this movement, and they're too Chris again. I'm bringing him up a lot because this is kind of his main topic, or one of them. He calls it groveling, and when you're this like starved MAGA person or Q follower or InfoWar person or truther, self-described truther, and you've been screaming about these things for 10 years, and then finally this big famous person starts saying the same stuff, your instinct is like, thank God, finally. Mm-hmm. Like, finally, Tucker is talking about the thing I was talking about and was banned from every social media platform for talking about. It's like, the instinct, though, which is a normal instinct.
Yeah.
But what people need to consider is, if you are going to grovel about these people just repeating the things you were saying 5 years ago, then you're just forming a new consensus group, and you need to look at the incentive structures, right? Why are they saying the thing? Is it because they believe the thing now, or is it because they're making money saying the thing that you were saying 5 years ago? And it can be both, but a lot of people just like when they say things they like.
Could that be the same? Because and they only have ever really done it once. Like, it was Charlie Kirk. So this is where my only Charlie Kirk story. I didn't watch him religiously. I didn't watch the show religiously. I caught his clips, and that was about it, right?
Yeah.
But October 7th happened, and he went on the BBD podcast. And as soon as October 7th happened, like within 48 hours, all this information was coming out from all these different places about a stand-down order, about the Iron Dome was malfunctioning, just happened to be malfunctioning on that one day, about how it took the soldiers, like 6 hours to get there in the distance that should have only taken 45 minutes, right? And so we were making videos. I was making videos. I was like, hey, I don't think this is real. And they were doing the propaganda with the dead babies and babies. It was the same propaganda that they had used during the Cold War. The dead babies. I think it was the Cold War. I can't remember, but it was dead babies in microwaves or something.
The incubator babies. That was
incubator
Desert
babies.
Storm. Yeah.
Pregnant women was another one. And it was all of a sudden you could post all the gore you wanted to all over social media that had been censoring people for years. And I'm like, hey, this isn't right. Why was there a stand down order? Why did all this stuff happen? And I got banned, and that's fine. And I got fucking just annihilated in the comments, annihilated from people. I didn't have one person in that comment section that was like, hey, why was that happening? Like, everybody was like, if you don't stand with Israel, you are not God's chosen people. I'm like, bitch, I was Roman Catholic.
Yeah.
Everybody's God's people, according to my belief. So, shh. But then Charlie Kirk, like 2 weeks later, went on the BBD podcast. A couple weeks later, went on the BBD podcast, and he asked the same questions. And I was like, fucking A. Johnson. Finally, somebody's asking. And that's when the narrative started to kind of change around the Israel stuff. It was pretty slow. Yeah. And now that then when he got shot and whatever, it exploded. And now I want to ask you, like, do you have an opinion as to the Charlie Kirk stuff? Do you think
his killing?
Yeah, like, who did it? Who done
Man,
it?
I am so, one of the reasons, it's not meant to be a cop-out, but one of the reasons I do the narrative, and that I was known as the narrative guy before I launched this show, is because even when I do have an opinion on these things, and I'm like, I think this probably happened, I know that even if there's a 99% chance that I'm right, I call those the actuals. What actually happened to Charlie Kirk? If there's a 99% chance I'm right, it doesn't matter, because ultimately it's a binary, right? Either I am right or I'm wrong.
Right.
And if I'm wrong, then all of the energy wasted trying to figure out what did happen is something I'll never get back. And if I'm wrong, then whatever choices I made based on the decision I came to about the actuals can't be taken back. That's so fair. Like for him, the way I try to not live in like a paralysis of, well, then I don't believe anything, would be the counter that a lot of people hit me with. I follow the narrative and the story. And one of the things I've been saying since before I joined Badlands was I look at the net effects. So for me, I focus less on who killed Charlie Kirk, and I look more at what stories is each faction that I can track telling about the killing of Charlie Kirk, and what do those stories want to provoke, right? So if you look at the mainstream media, a lot of that, like left-wing media, it was a lone wingnut, lone wolf, all that bullshit.
It was a Trump supporter for a few minutes.
Yeah,
there,
Trump
wasn't it?
supporter.
Yeah.
But then I look at a lot of Con Inc. and I think that the Con Inc. crowd was very clever and very subversive about how they spoke about Charlie Kirk's death. So they did the whole, it was a left-wing Antifa-aligned extremist, right?
Gay
and
person.
some of them went so far as to say this is all the fault of the media and they have radicalized people. I think that's another layer of deception.
Okay.
So I consider that I call them sand bunkers, but that's basically like, that's a trap for you to like, they give you a little something like, yeah, it was a left-wing extremist. Now argue about this on Twitter for a year. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, Trump, who I often think is the signal setter, even though he does it in kind of clever ways, he is talking about, left-wing extremism, but he was focusing on it before Charlie Kirk's killing, in the immediate aftermath, and today on NGOs and foreign funding of NGOs, right? So Con Inc. stops at left-wing extremism. So what is the end goal of the Con Inc. op? To make conservatives pissed at liberals and to make them yell at CNN because CNN's responsible for this.
Correct.
Trump is saying non-governmental organizations, aka billionaire foreign financiers, are funding artificial extremism within the United States. And to me, it's like the people who said the mob were the ones who killed JFK. Like, you just fell into a psyop where the truth is actually much worse. The truth is a very coordinated, organized declaration of war, or act of war, I would say. And I actually think the Con Inc. op is worse than CNN. Because when CNN says he's MAGA, or Jimmy Kimmel says he's MAGA, nobody takes it seriously. But when Benny Johnson says it's left-wing extremism, everyone takes it seriously. But Benny Johnson doesn't want to talk about George Soros. Maybe he's not. I'm using his name as an example.
Did they take him seriously, though? Because here's the shift that I noticed, okay? And here's how, I think I posted this on X too. How you know if you're winning is you got to look at the ratios and look at the comments. And these comments are just, and it's under everybody's post. Yep. Benny doesn't post a ton about the Israel stuff because I feel like he just kind of, it's too controversial for him to be pro. Even if it would pay him more, he makes enough. So he's really focused on like the Portland. This is another one I'm hearing all week. We want to talk about Portland. We want to talk about the Antifa violence and all that stuff.
The liberals.
The liberals. I feel like that's some kind of like alternate universe going on within the conversations that are being had on X. Because like I'm not even tuned into that. Like, just go deport them, arrest, like whatever. I'm not even tuned into that anymore. You know, I'm really probably too hyper focused on this. And I look at the comments of this. I look at Dinesh D'Souza has been a big one that's been going back and forth with Matt Gaetz, which I also feel with Matt Gaetz, I'm kind of like, whatever. But the comments, the people, and it's harder and harder to tell who's people and who's bots. But I can't imagine Qatar is going to be paying that much money for bots. Maybe they are, right? But the comments and the ratios are so lopsided.
Yeah, which is good.
These people can't even get a leg up. Loomer's comments are, terrible. Like, she can't get a word in edgewise. She can't get a leg up. Nobody can. Officer Tatum, nobody can. It's the $7,000 meme. It's this. It's that. And I feel like that's a very positive turn.
I do too.
In probably one of the biggest ops that we've had so far, and probably one of the most hardest ones. Because then you're talking about religion and love of country.
Right.
So that is going to be. So you're not talking about
the ultimate toxic mix.
It's right. You can get people to blame Democrats and liberal teachers and that all day long, right? Because it's all over TikTok. But when you start bringing in people's religion, and you start bringing in the core of their being, which is a lot of them, and then you start making them question that, it gets very rabid, very fast. I put out a poll. So for the dual citizens, I'm like, if you're dual, I should have put dual citizens, but I didn't. But I said, if you're, here. If we were to go to war with Israel, would you wear an American uniform or would you wear an Israeli one? And the question is very simple. And the reason I asked it is because there's been a lot of conversations about dual citizenship. I'd put out another tweet that really pissed people off about how dual citizens you shouldn't be here. Either you shouldn't be here or you shouldn't be able to vote. You shouldn't be in Congress. I'm sorry, you just shouldn't. You shouldn't. If you want to be in my country and you want to vote and you want to be a part of the legislation and you want to be, then you need to be a sole citizen. You need to give up that dual. Right. Okay. But you can be here and be a dual citizen, but you should not be able to participate in anything. Okay. And I put something very similar to that. People got really pissed off. And so I put the poll. Very simple. Yes or no. What are you going to do? The majority of people voted yes. And they were like, hoorah, America first, right? Eagles and blood, guts, and gore and guns. But there were people that just got unnecessarily, irrationally angry about the post. And I'm like, it's just a question. You live here. Your little thing says USA, right? Just answer the question. And they won't. And I'm like, well, then you don't need to be here. Because if I were to put the same one up about Qatar, like everybody be like, no, America first.
It's tied into, though, what you said earlier of the like whatever the truth is of it. It's because I don't think people won't be honest with themselves about why they won't answer something like that.
No.
Or why they have to hesitate. And the reason is because they know that their answer doesn't work in accordance with the public persona they've cultivated.
But it's not public information. Nobody would know how they voted. They didn't even have
their
to
own
comment.
Yeah, maybe even in their own mind, though. I think
conflict.
It's cognitive dissonance, I think, because people what's really going on is I think what you said earlier, which is that some of those people associate the nation state of Israel as like a biblical chosen destiny type of thing. And they can't say that, like, they don't say that out loud. So when they're talking about the nation of Israel and our greatest ally and this and that, what they mean is all biblical coding and I should say, their interpretation of these belief systems. But they're not going to say that out loud because they know it doesn't track in a logical argument. So I think a lot of that is what's going on.
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you just be like,
some
you know
will.
What?
Some will say it.
Let me internalize this. That's what I asked Laura Loomer to do this morning. Why don't you just take the day off, girl, and just look around you? You're not winning. You're not winning this. And all the dirty men in her comments that are coming after me, I'm like, she's not going to show you her boobies. Like, she's not. The way that you're just like rabidly coming at me about this, like, she's not going to send you her feet. Stop.
Yeah.
Just fucking stop it. We are in the we need strong men times. Okay.
Yeah.
I need the weak men to fall off. I need you not to be slobbing the knob of these honey traps. Get out of their comments. You're 20, 30 years older than she is. Like, stop it. You're just contributing to the problem. And
that's exactly why I like that beam and why I call this InfoWar posture. Because again, we've been dealing with a very difficult minefield, not just Israel, but long before that. Again, like I'm like a Q person, or I followed the Q drops and everything, but there's certainly been a bifurcation there where there are people who largely agree on a lot of interpretations of what that was or wasn't, but then will now have gone all the way, in my opinion, to the point where it's like policing how other people talk about this stuff. And that's when I brought up unity, and I call it toxic unity. It's not that I'm saying unity is by definition toxic, but I'm saying that if you are trying to stamp out dissent, meaning conversation and argument, within a community that calls itself the truth community, you're not doing the truth thing.
Right.
Like, and that's why there's a method to the madness of the you can't sit with us type of mentality on some of these topics, because ultimately, the truth doesn't, what's all the sayings you want to get to, like you want to bring up, truth is like a lion, right? It defends itself. It's like, it doesn't need a unity brand to defend it. The truth will do fine in an argument. In fact, the more people that argue with each other, the better the truth is going to do. And the fewer people that argue with each other, the worse it's going to do. If you're just like, we're not allowed to question this, we're not allowed to, and that's what I meant about mainstream media figures too. How many people in the MAGA base were like super anti-Fox News because they betrayed us on November 3rd, 2020, and all of them are con figures. And until now, half the MAGA core, if not 80% of them, watch it every night. Did you see what Hannity said tonight?
To the internet. It drives me
and it's like
insane. It drives me insane. Like this, these congressional hearings. This whole thing is fake. All of it. all of these congressional hearings, all of the congressmen, all of the senators, they're fake. They've already made their decision as to what laws they're going to pass beforehand. Then they come to the floor to argue them down. It's all fake. Yeah. Okay, but they will post these clips and they'll be like Laura Loomer, or not Laura Loomer. They'll be like Luna. They'll be like, Luna really stuck it to this guy. Or did you see Tim Burchett? He destroyed this guy. And it's like, I'm so fucking tired of this.
Yeah.
Like I feel embarrassed for you, almost.
Yeah.
Like
it's performative.
But it's so obviously performative. Like because I fell for it in the beginning too. I was like, fuck yeah. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene, she just got up there and just ripped him apart. And I like Marjorie Taylor Greene just fine, okay? But the breaking, did you see what I said? Did you see what I can't. It's so repetitive. And then they do it and they're like this, like it's some kind of big fucking thing. And it's not. It's just the repetitive same shit over and over again. Like I'm not having a hard time thinking of like, what are you going to post this week? The government shutdown. Like, what are you even going to come up with? Jim Jordan destroys this person. It's so fake. And I hate it. I hate them. And I think this needs to be said, too. Look, I know there's a lot of shit going on with the Israel stuff. Okay, now I'm super pissed about that. Like, fuck Netanyahu. Stop addressing my country. I don't want you listening. I don't want my people listening to you anymore. You don't need to be doing this. Stop paying my influence.
There goes your invite to the next podcast or meetup.
God damn it. Every single time. But I am more pissed at our congressmen, at our leaders.
Yeah.
Our senators, our congressmen. And the reason for that is because they allowed this to happen. And they allowed it to happen for a very long time. If it's not Israel, it was Ukraine. There was the money laundering when FTX fell out. And we found out that was all money laundering. Okay, so there was that. And then before that, it was COVID. And everybody needs to wear masks. Like, you allowed this to happen and to keep happening. And you kept taking their money. And you kept just going and kissing the wall. And I'm more pissed at you than I am at the country of Israel, and than I am at the Israeli government. Fucking Ted Cruz went on Tucker Carlson's show, and he said to the American people with his full chest that the reason I became a senator was to be the best senator for Israel. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But like, you're the senator of Texas. Like, nothing. I hate them all. I hope this shutdown. Here's what I hope happens. We talked about the shutdown in the beginning.
Yeah.
And this could happen. Who knows? Longest shutdown that's ever gone on was 34 days. Okay, I don't know how long it's been, but if we just keep this fucker shut down, and every time like one of those programs come up that's going to detrimentally affect the American people, Trump be like, oh, here's some tariff money. Just fund it. And if we just keep it closed, like it'll become like this big like theatrical thing, right? The United States government's been closed for 90 days. Like, and nobody's life changes.
Yeah.
Right. And then come to midterms, we'll be like, you know what? Maybe we don't even need midterms. Like, we don't really need you. Maybe this is a soft launch into tariffs. Have you thought about that?
Yeah. Well, one of the things we talk about a lot is the idea of, in Trump's first inauguration speech that John plays, it's in part of the Power Hour intro, his first speech in 2017 after inauguration. And he said, I'm returning power back to you, the people. Whether you believe that or not, what does that mean is one of the most interesting conversations to be had. And it's a conversation a lot of people don't like to have. But it's kind of part of what you're hitting on there, in my view, is, and Chris Paul, again, talks about this a lot. John talks about this a lot. What do we mean by power back to the people? Do we mean voting harder in elections for congresspeople who support foreign nations over our own? Like, at what point do we revisit a lot of this stuff? And this is why, even though it's a broken record kind of thing here, and it's it is what kicked off a lot of people getting pissed off at us in the wake of the 2024 election, even though we were thrilled with Trump and still are, is all of the people that basically built careers on calling the 2020 election fake, nothing changing in that process between 2020 and 2024. And most of those people saying now elections are real. And what's funny is at Badlands, there were a few people, and shout out to Chris, is really the main person who became a meme for saying this. But for a year leading up to the 2024 election, he said the best thing that could happen to the Uniparty and to the deep state is for Trump to win a fake election so that all of MAGA stops requesting real elections. And a couple short little things I want to play here. I played this the other night, but is relevant. Speaking of both mainstream media hacks masquerading as MAGA, and then some real people. This is Carrie Lake, who I think are catching this attempt to paper over the real problem in our country. But just take a listen to how this guy tries to frame the problems in our country.
How dirty the inner workings of these big blue cities are. I mean, how corrupt the people that get in. I mean, how in the hell is Tish James the Attorney General of New York? How did that even happen? And you see it it's the same reason we're about to have Mamdani as the mayor of this city. It's just the Republicans don't vote. The Democrats know they have it. So you get the worst of the Democrat Party. The primary is the election, and you end up with these horrific people that are running the most important city in the world.
Well, this is why we need to, another thing that President Trump talks about, get back to real, honest elections where we vote on election day. We don't have election month. We don't have mail-in ballots.
So I played this Friday night and got more fiery than I will here. Maybe even for me, it was a little too fiery. But my point in bringing that up is that this media subversion and conning subversion, in my opinion, is much more nuanced than most people in MAGA think. So what I witness in that clip is a guy that is branded as MAGA who goes into a segment and talks about all the things we talk about and then says, if only Republicans voted harder.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Newsmax literally became famous for being the ones to question the results of the 2020 election and point out all the issues with it and all this kind of stuff, right?
Right.
So, and shout out to Carrie Lake because she can't wait to stop him and say, well, we don't have real elections. And then a shorter one is one Chris Paul posted earlier, where it's a bit of an even bigger figure than Carrie Lake asked about this. What the hell? God damn. I'm pressing buttons like a...
It's all right.
Like a retard. Okay. Share. Press this button. Press this button. Press this button. Okay.
Anti-Trump rally can occur in their city. They're bypassing the fees, rolling it to the taxpayers. So my question is to you, what can the people of Austin, Texas do right now to make sure that their tax dollars don't fund a No Kings anti-Trump rally coming up?
Well, you just tell me that I would love to do something about that, bring a lawsuit, do something. The best thing you can do is have honest elections because the elections are totally rigged in so many of these places. You take a look, the people, they're all...
So there's more there, but it's like a lot of our audience agrees with us. That's why they're still here. But right. A lot of people did not agree with us. And we're like, you guys keep talking about elections.
I got a question for you then. Ahead. So if you're a Q person, right? You've been in the drops. I've been in the drops. I have two questions. And my first question is your thoughts on, oh my God, the senator, oh my God, the old guy talks about the corn. He's mine. Grassley. Thoughts on Grassley? Quick.
I don't have detailed thoughts on him. I mean,
okay. That's okay.
I like him.
So when he came to Iowa in 2020, to campaign for Trump, he came on the Trump bus with our Joni Ernst and our governor, and they gave you opportunity to stand up and ask a question. So I stood up and asked a question. I was like, how do you expect people to vote in this election and hope to win when the majority of the people in our area don't believe in voting anymore? Do you know what he told me? He's like, well, that's why we need to vote all the Democrats out so that we can get that fixed.
But, well, I'll give some plausible deniability to any of these people, the evil ones and the good ones, is that I think the good get something else we talk about a lot in the Power Hour is the fucking good guys are lying to us every day too. And it's annoying, which is why we can't
that old man had no idea where he even was. Yeah. Have you ever met him? He had no idea. He was so
Which
lost.
I'm fine believing that too.
Yeah. It was pretty bad. And my next question, and then I have to go. But my next question is, if you follow the Q stuff, do you remember something? And I don't remember if it was a drop or just part of it, where they said that it can't be Trump, and it tied into the JFK stuff. Do you remember that?
What do you mean? It can't be Trump.
JFK was supposed to be the unifier. That was part of that. Okay. Well, part of that was that it could not be Trump. Trump wasn't there to be the unifier. Like, it can't be Trump because people hate him too much. The Trump derangement syndrome is like a physical syndrome. Like, people don't get over it, right?
Yeah.
So it can't be Trump, and that's what led a lot of people to believe that it would be JFK, or JFK Jr., that he would come back and then stand on, Mount Rushmore. I think there was like a whole thing.
Yeah.
So
that was not from the Q drops, by the way.
It was not.
No. But this is actually your question, though, is a good example of why people like us were really against that whole narrative of JFK Jr. who
I
were
didn't get
Q
into that
people.
either.
Because that all came from other accounts that were Q followers who started passing that theory around. And this is what, whether it's real or not, whatever your thoughts are on the Q drops. And again, the people who attack me the most now are Q people, even though I'm a Q person. But that's what happens, right? But a lot of the stuff, whatever you think of Q or not, it's kind of similar to Trump, actually, where... Like, if you're talking to a normie who's like likes you, but is otherwise either apolitical or anti-Trump, like you said, you probably have experienced this thing where they're like, why do you like a guy who does or says this? And usually you're like, well, that didn't happen. And you'll give them context of being like, Trump didn't say that. Right. Or this was the context.
I've done that, yeah.
And I would say most of what people like say about the Q drops was not in the Q drops. It was people following the Q drops and interpreting the drops, and they were like, yeah, and this is probably
like the Bible.
Yeah, this probably means JFK Jr. is coming back. So then what the media does is they're like, the Q movement thinks JFK Jr. is coming back, just like they say, oh, the MAGA movement thinks X, right?
Right.
So. And that's
I never believed in the JFK stuff. I was just like, that doesn't make any sense. But then when Kennedy got put on the cabinet, I was like, well, that's interesting.
I think that's notable, but I think
that's notable.
The best psyops, the best negative psyops use some true things and then they poison it with some stupid bullshit, right? Just like a lot of a lot of truthers are like, oh yeah, we're reforming the system and all that, which I'm all in favor of, but then they'll be like, Nasara Gasara, magical like financial medical system.
Yeah, people still bring that up in my comments. I'm not necessarily.
They make money doing it too.
I've researched the Nasara Jasara pretty extensively enough. Sounded really good. It was a legitimate thing, but it just got like it's just not gonna happen. And then like the med beds.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Maybe here's the thing.
I mean, that'd be great.
I'm open to anything. I really am. I'm not gullible. I may be a little naive because I try to stay really hopeful because we live in this. I mean, obviously we all live in this, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gullible though, but I'm open to anything. You want to talk to me about flat Earth? I'll listen to you talk about flat Earth. Like whether I believe it or not is irrelevant. Okay. If you got some interesting information to back it up, you want to talk about Bigfoot? I'll talk about Bigfoot. You want to talk about military experience that gone wrong and now they're roaming in the forest and acting like giants? Let's talk about it. I don't care. Like I'm very open-minded when it comes to most things, even some ridiculous things. It's just I don't understand why more people can't be like that. Like why can't we just talk about how it was kind of weird that Charlie Kirk's wife after the funeral was weird.
We got a lot of pushback on saying
it was weird. You guys.
Yes, you're allowed to say that.
We remember when that herd lady was in court and she's crying about how her dog stepped on a bee and that's what I thought of when I saw that happen. Real time. I didn't say anything to anyone about it. But like when she was like doing the fake cry on the stand, and then when Erica Kirk got up there and I was like, Carl.
You mean the Erica Kirk that now owns all of Charlie Kirk's assets, including Turning Point
owns
USA.
everything. And then like.
And now it's being injected into public schools in the United States.
Weird. I know.
That whole thing.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to say that that's a little weird?
It's a little weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. But here's the thing. The kids are going to be fine. Have you seen those clips? So Turning Point USA.
Oh, yeah. Those are great.
Yeah.
Well, that's like you said earlier. I agree with you that's a positive.
Yeah.
The narrative that came out of Charlie Kirk for all the bullshit, that is good to see.
Well, that's just it. Like the narrative that they're trying to push. Like if they killed Charlie Kirk to force this narrative, it backfired. And this is how I feel about Q.
Right.
Like if Q was a big psyop in order to get people to be apathetic, that it failed miserably, because all it did was get us to wake up to the fact that our nation's got an enormous child trafficking problem, and it's got an enormous politician problem. Like, that's all it did. Then it backfired. And I feel like with the Charlie Kirks, to the point with Charlie Kirk, that like it backfired so bad that I kind of, listen, the lefties on the TikTok, okay, the septum piercing ladies, okay, they were like, he's not dead. They think that they did this intentionally, that it was not green screen, but what do you call it? Hologram, to push in Christian nationalism. But that doesn't make sense, because Charlie wasn't a Christian nationalist. So, and everybody that is relatively even has a brain cell knows that, right? But what it did do was it woke everybody up to how invested Israel is into our country. There's that. And you can liken the JFK stuff to it. It brought all the SS Liberty, brought all that back up, right?
Right.
It exposed a lot of our our influencers that hadn't already been exposed with Bindergate, right? Exposed a hell of a lot more, because they're out here, just
Turning Point USA people.
Including Turning Point USA. And Daily Wire, for anybody left that watches the Daily Wire, which I don't know why you do, but it exposed
people that eat mayonnaise sandwiches, I think,
and exposed Netanyahu. Listen, nobody would have thought Israel killed Charlie Kirk if Netanyahu hadn't gone on a media blitz for a month and a half after it happened. What do you mean?
Ghost thought it minute one, but I don't know if you've done a show with Ghost yet. He's our shield. We can say. The reason we can say whatever we want about Israel is because we have Ghost, and whatever we have said, like, we just put him out there.
As soon as I found out he died, I was like, Israel did it. And the only reason was because I went back to October 7th. That was merely my only interaction with Charlie. But
deductive reasoning would lead you to that conclusion. That's why I said I don't know what happened, but there's certain
lots of certain
But
why can't we just discuss those? And everyone's like, we need to let Charlie's family ain't listening to my podcast, Gladys. Okay, I can discuss it. If it bothers you, leave.
Because a lot of people that call themselves truthers are not interested in the truth. They are interested in consensus formation.
I know.
I
can't do that.
But they don't know that. A lot of them don't know that that's what they're interested in.
They need to learn.
I wanted to show you, though. It was funny what you just said.
Get a book or something.
An old article I wrote. You might like to read this, actually. I think you might like
ahead.
this.
Okay, send it to me.
We Are Q. So this was my most popular article I ever wrote. I don't write that much about the Q drops, but it's kind of it approaches it from the perspective you just laid out of it being a psyop from all different directions. What's so funny is your terminology is exactly what I said.
Oh, it totally backfired.
I said if it was a black hat plan, it backfired spectacularly, which was ultimately why I don't feel the need to try to prove to myself or anybody else whether or not it was real or fake, or good or bad. It's what were its purpose, or what were its effects. Just like you said with Charlie Kirk. Yeah.
What happened with it? What happened? Because Q was super popular right around the start of COVID. That's kind of when I got into it. And there were some that followed it before.
It's 2017.
But then we got locked in our homes, right? And they were like, hey, look at this super secret military thing. And so we're all trying to decode it. And then we're trying to tie it to what everybody's saying, right? And then I'm like, Mike Pompeo is the best. Turns out Mike Pompeo is a big piece of shit. Like, lost the weight and lost his mind. And he was some kind of like spy. Fuck you, dude. Like, I was a huge fan. I would have wore a Mike Pompeo shirt. Okay. Now I need to get me one of those. I can't think of his name. The border guy. I need to get me a shirt of his. I like
Tom Homan. Yeah,
he's
pretty
I need
sweet.
a Tom Homan shirt.
He's also a foul-mouthed.
He is, which is probably why I like him. Isn't he Irish? Isn't Holman Irish?
He must be. He talks that way. So I just assume I'll claim people as my own if they swear enough.
I swear. I tried to like limit that on this show though, because I really didn't know how you felt about it.
that you have not watched. See, apparently I didn't know I swear all the time. This is like a new revelation to me.
Oh really? I had people leave over it.
Well, I apologized the other day in front of my wife because I was like, oh, fuck this, whatever, in front of the baby, and I was like, oh, excuse me, because I'm trying to practice. And she was laughing. I was like, why are you laughing? I'm trying to I just caught myself swearing. And she was like, you have dropped 20 F-bombs in the last 10 minutes while just talking about something.
Right.
And you caught yourself on the 19th one. I was like, then we got some progress.
Yes. All right, I gotta go. I'm so sorry.
I tried to let you go 5 times.
I know.
You're the problem.
Come on. I am the the fucking truth. I am the problem. Right. Okay, I gotta go. You guys, I love you. Thank you for being here.
Hopefully you come back. Good having
I will. Yeah. Just whenever. Let me know. If I didn't know
I really think you should be nicer though, and definitely embrace unity. pretty much here's how you should govern yourself from now on. I'm a man, so I'm allowed to say this to you. Whatever the most number of people in your comments tell you to believe and to say is what you need to believe and say. That's the way the truth community works.
Right.
So I just
they
don't
hesitate. Like Colette over here, she's like, you ever zoom in on Erica's face and the tears were streaming down her face. You clearly never lost anyone a horrific way. Ma'am, you don't know me.
Can't believe you would say
I've
that
lost a
about
lot
Erica.
of people, and I've had a lot of people in my life that fake shit for whatever reason. So whatever. It's all
you're
good,
leaving.
Colette. I'm leaving.
Hold on.
Okay.
Let's send you out on a tribute.
Yes.
People follow. When's your show? Is it Wednesday nights?
Wednesday night
Tuesday?
at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time.
7 p.m. Somehow it's an hour.
It is. Well, yeah. I try to keep it at an hour because Altered State is on after that. But sometimes I go over a little bit because I get on these rants.
Yeah.
Not very often, though.
Well, rants work on this show. That's what we're known for. They're trying to shorten my show to 3 hours.
Oh, yeah, no.
So it's a conspiracy.
Somebody messaged me before I came on. And she's like, girl, I hope you took a power nap. I'm like, no, I got an hour cut off. Like, I got
That's
a
why
boundary.
you came in guns blazing. You're like, you're not going to keep...
Just
See,
so
I'm
you
even
know.
doing it right now.
I know, and here I go. All right, I'm leaving. Goodbye,
All right,
you guys.
hold
I
on,
love
hold
your
on.
face.
This is a
Okay,
tribute.
one more.
As you're leaving,
Aw.
it's short.
We have to talk to you. Is butter a carb? Yes. Gina, you're wearing sweatpants. It's Monday. So? So that's against the rules, and you can't sit with us. Whatever. Those rules aren't real. They were real that day I wore a vest, because that vest was disgusting. You can't sit with us!
This is my comment section.
These sweatpants are all that fits me right now. Fine. You can walk home, bitches. That's where you're going, fat ass!
So that's
my
some
comment
days
section.
is what being a truther feels like. Anyway, thanks for joining, Ship.
Yes,
I'll
sir.
see you around, and yeah, I don't know. Fuck you.
Fuck you too. I know, I'm just playing.
All
Bye, guys. Thanks for having me. I'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye.
Peace. Oh, thank God. Thank God she's gone. Man, sorry you guys had to be through that. See, she's one guest that I know won't be like, I heard you said mean things afterwards. She'll get it immediately. Whereas every time I do that, there's always like one person that's like, I can't believe you talked to somebody for a while and then you were so mean afterwards. Anyway, I think that was fun. We could have done 3 hours if she wasn't such a weakling and wanted to tend to her family. But maybe some other time we'll hop her up on some cocaine. Actually, that would be... I feel like you couldn't do that with her. Unless she'd be one of those people that it might mute the effects if you stim somebody like that. Good rant competition there. She's a good ranter. I don't know where she's from, but she has an East Coast persuasion about her. So that's a good thing, I think. But yeah, InfoWar posture. That's basically... I'll hang out for a little while with you guys. I'll do the rants, obviously, and the boosts, and then talk about a couple little things. But yeah, the reason sometimes I have a topic idea ahead of time and sort of pick a co-host based on that topic idea. Other times I pick a co-host and then I think of a topic based on that. This was the latter. InfoWar posture is what I thought of when she was posting Mean Girls memes. It's the disposition. We talk about Black Hat Destroyer says Shipwreck filibusters more than you and Ghost combined. I don't think that's possible. But but it's not filibustering. It's passion. That's what we all need to tell John Harold. But yeah, the InfoWar posture. I think you guys have heard us rant 6 billion times about unity and what the difference is between unity and toxic positivity and all this kind of stuff. But I think there's a certain posture that is good to cultivate in this world of what we do in the InfoWar, which is kind of being like marauders, Spartans, be corny about it, shock troopers, I've said in the past. You know, there's a reason a guy like G-Money has the sort of approach he does. He's kind of his approach is pretty extreme, right, with Bitcoin maximalism, but his approach is essentially, I think people mistake what he's doing, and you don't have to like it, right? You don't have to like what he's doing. Chris Paul does this a bit when it comes to, elections, and our politicians a lot of the time. There's a method to the madness of immediately sifting out people to communicate with before you even communicate with them. You can't sit with us. And people are like, well, how are we going to make the tent bigger? Because if you're right about the thing, then we're probably going to arrive at that place anyway if you keep trying to drive in the direction of the truth. You don't need a brand of unity when you don't yet know what the truth is. That's the key. So when somebody like G Money is talking about, shit coins and slaves and fiat slaves and all that kind of stuff, people are like, why is he being mean? It's like, he's not being mean. He's seeing if your power level is high enough to communicate with him. And then if you communicate with him in good faith about, or even engage in an argument with him in good faith, which I have done many times, or Ash has done, as you guys have seen on shows and at Gart's in particular. And then you end up getting great conversations and great arguments and great learnings from both sides out of it. When you approach with the willingness, I'm not saying you have to intend to disagree with everybody you talk to in the truth community. Like, obviously then you just become a contrarian, right? That's not what I think you should strive to do. That's not what I strive to do. But I think you should go into any conversation willing to change your mind, hopefully, if you get a compelling enough counter argument. But mostly willing to disagree if you disagree. And we have people who do shows together and stuff, not at Badlands, obviously. People either love that or hate that about us. We have lots of disagreements here. But a lot of whether it's mainstream media or other podcast channels, and it's like, I get if you don't want to have big arguments, but you can tell they will not disagree with each other. There is no disagreement with each other. So you guys don't disagree about anything? Well, that would disrupt unity. Would it? Was the unity a good thing if you're going to disrupt it by disagreeing? And I like that, I brought up that clip with Trump earlier talking about having real elections and election fraud. We've brought that up for a long time at Badlands. We took a ton of shit for it, mostly from the truth community, even though we think we're part of it, in the aftermath of the 2024 election, of saying elections are still fake, even if we're happy that Trump is narratively the president right now and has the mandate of the people. He's the president because he has the mandate of the people. He's not the president because he won a fucking fake election. And if you're not mature enough to talk about that, or to be able to say that, or if it hurts your feelings, or you think it's disrupting unity, then you're a fucking idiot. Like, I don't want to unify with you just because you call yourself MAGA. That's retarded. That's how we got into this problem. That's how we got into this mess. And even though I am a Q person, despite the fact that people try to brand me as anything but that, as evidenced, there's always some new people around. So I like to just show my receipts, still prominently displayed on the Burning Bright Substack, burningbright.substack.com. This is an evergreen article. Most people consider it the best thing I ever wrote, or one of them. We Are Q, Past, Present, and Future of the Great Awakening, 2023. Still the most read thing on my Substack. Still the top thing pinned on my Substack. I'm not trying to virtue signal about that. It's just to say, I've not been branded as anti-Q based on any merit, or based on the fact that have voiced anti-Q opinions. I've been branded that way, and other people here have been branded that way because we disagree over interpretations of the Q plan and what the purpose was. And, comms and decodes and all this kind of stuff, right? I mean, they're literally, after this show, we have another Q show coming up on Badlands, which I will watch because I love the guys who make it. Brad, shout out to Brad Alpha, Josh Reed. They're going to be doing Q After Hours. Episode 1 is coming up at midnight. Famous last words, but I don't think we're going to midnight tonight. I don't think I'm going to rant for 70 minutes. But who knows? Stranger things have happened. You guys know. But my whole thing there is, if what you took away from the Q drops, and if what you took away from them, and from where we go one, we go all, if what you took away from that was, do not disagree with each other about anything, you all must have the same interpretations of everything Donald Trump says and of everything the Q drops said, that's not how I interpret what where we go one, we go all means. That's not what I interpret as unity. and it sounds very simple, but people in this audience talk about the founders all the time, and not just the founders, but not just the people whose names we know, but the men who founded the United States, the men who founded America, the men who didn't even know what that was going to be, but were engaged in the Revolutionary War, obviously. It's really, I think, confidence boosting for me and encouraging in a very strange and inverted way to think about those men in recent days, in recent years, because episode 2, Black Hat says episode 2, not 1. It says episode 1 there. I don't know. Anyway, sorry, I distracted myself. It's encouraging to think about the founders because they were disagreement disembodied, or embodied. Jesus, I can't talk tonight. They were disagreement embodied. They were representative of disagreement. Their entire being, their mission, their sense of self, and their sense of unity was built on being against something. It was built on being against subjugation, against systemization, against tyranny, obviously. That doesn't mean they were all for the same things. And if your interpretation of Trump saying I'm returning power back to the people means somehow that we're all on the same page with each other and agree with each other about everything and should do that going forward and interpret the plan in the same way as each other and shouldn't question it and shouldn't threaten unity or any of this shit, then you would have been a pussy-ass bitch in the American Revolution, and all the other founding fathers would have called you out for being a bitch, right? Like, go read some Thomas Paine. Did Thomas Paine not trust the plan enough? How about some of these other? How about Thomas Jefferson? How about the Adams family? The Adams cousins there. Like, these guys were not about unifying blindly just because they all had the same enemies. They were about the opposite of that. Complete opposite. How about Patrick Henry? Patrick Henry, Thomas Paine, Thomas Jefferson, Sam Adams. Radicals. They weren't just considered radicals because they were against the British Empire. Every American was considered a radical who was against the British Empire. They were considered radicals because they were against each other, the other founders. But they joined together in common cause against a common enemy, right? So if you're talking about that when you say unity, I totally agree with that and wholeheartedly endorse it. I'm going to read a couple of micro rants before I get to your guys' rants because it's on this topic. He sent $55 over earlier. Looking forward to meeting you all at Cocoa Beach Gart next month. Beautiful leather-bound book from you, BB. Where we go on, we go all. A unity message, he says, LOL. And then he sent over another one just now. You're 100% correct, BB. There are many Q folks that give lip service to having your own conclusions, but once it's different, the whole relationship changes. That's what I'm talking about. Q is an easy thing to... I think the Q thing is an easy thing to single out. Because first of all, it's really relevant to this audience, right? It's really relevant to Truth Community people. And I would say the Q community brands itself in unity. It's a big part of it, which is good from a certain perspective, right? If you're forming, though, a new consensus protocol and you're stamping out debate or you're stamping out any kind of disagreement, then, or here's another way to put this. Let's say you disagree with that. Let's say you're like, no, I think Q people should be unified, MAGA should be unified, Americans should be unified in common cause and basically have the same overall vision for the future of the country. I think that's debatable. I think that there are different interpretations of what the future of the country looks like. Shout out to our own Jonathan Drake, who just started his show last week before this show, which is good. I'm glad Sundays are filling up. It was lonely here in the past. So I got a show before me, I got a show after me now. So I'm happy to see that. But Jonathan Drake has been doing the No Treason podcast. He just did episode 2 tonight. And he's been talking about this as his lead-in topic. You know, interpretations and arguments from antiquity and to today about what the vision of the country should be. And a lot of the time, the MAGA core gets caught, maybe, depending on your interpretation, in thinking that the automatic answer to that is a return to the Constitution. And one of my shit-disturbing takes that I've said, especially at Gart's, has been, if the Constitution was going to work again, it would have worked the first time, which isn't to say I disagree with the first principles or intention behind the founding documents of the United States. I agree with the Constitution before all those gay amendments, starting with the 14th Amendment, which Chris Paul talks about all the time. I agree with the intent laid out there. But this wouldn't be happening if that was the answer. If the answer, those principles might have been the answer. But if returning to a founding document and somehow codifying that in law was going to be the answer, now it would have been the answer then. And it wasn't the answer then. It was the answer for a while. It still has us in a much better position than pretty much everywhere else in the world. That can be acknowledged while also saying it could be better. So there's some people that talk about, do we go beyond the Constitution? Do we go back further? Do we go back to the Articles of Confederation? Do we stop trying to codify the way our country runs in documents? Is that the way we have to do it? Do we have to form a consensus protocol? Is there a way we could have a more decentralized world? These are all things that, Ash talks about this a lot. I don't know what the answer is there. But we should be having arguments about it long after the Trump era. It's not over that. We're like, oh, we got the future of the country and now everything's just set and settled. That's the way things are. So there's all those arguments that can happen. One of my biggest issues with some Q commentary over others, and there's all over the map, it's not a monolith, just like anything else, is some people interpret the intentions behind the drops in different ways. And I don't think that gets talked about a whole lot. I think a lot of people are like, this is clearly what was intended by the drops. This is the correct way to interpret them. This is the correct way to decode them. And that's what we're going to talk about. And I'm just a big fan of a more sort of open rhetoric about going back and forth. What do you think it meant? What do you think it meant? And even besides what specific drops meant, I'm more interested in, Ash says, I love having arguments about it, BB. I don't think that's because she thinks like my way is the perfect way. I think it's what we should be doing. Again, to talk about the founding fathers, like we weren't there, right? But based on all the documentation about them and accounts about them and the story that's been codified about them, they were constantly arguing with each other, like from before the revolution, through the revolution, after the revolution, when the country unified. It unified against something, which was the British Empire and tyranny. It didn't unify because it became a monolith. And I think I like that vision of America First and of the truth community. Unifying around, I think there's a bit of a Freudian slip that happens in the truth community that I've fallen prey to myself, where a lot of people say we should unify around the truth. That makes sense. But if we think we know what the truth is, I think we're already making a big mistake. If we think we know like all truths are the one truth, I think we should unify around the pursuit of the truth. And by definition, the pursuit of the truth requires argument with other people who are unified with you in that pursuit. And I know that might sound to some people like it's the same thing. I think those are wildly different interpretations of sovereignty and of unity than a lot of people have. And that is my interpretation, or one of my interpretations, of the Q drops. I think the Q drops accelerated a sifting within American society and even the world that was necessary, that was good. I think the Trump era accelerated a sifting and a division that was good, even within the MAGA core. Which is why one of the things we point out pretty often, especially on Power Hours, is Trump will say one thing on July 1st, and then on August 1st, he says the opposite. And you're allowed to say, oh, he was playing 5D chess. Yeah, I think he does. I wrote the Master series, which is all about that. When you question Trump, however, on July 1st, it doesn't mean that you're standing opposed to the Trump movement. it means that you might be the one who's actually interpreting what he's trying to do better than the people telling you not to oppose him. Sometimes, in my view, opposing Trump is the point of what Trump is doing. And like, I can't understand how you could look at him operate and see that differently. And the major topic I want to hit on before we get out of here tonight is that. There's a latest example of that as always is possible to see coming in advance. But every single time, a lot of people act like you couldn't have predicted it. You just had to wait and blindly support whatever is being said without going against it. Because if you do, you're threatening unity and you're threatening the movement and you're threatening this and that. So that's kind of some thoughts there. I also want to say on this topic, shout out to Ghost, who posted this in a Badlands chat recently, which I thought was, incredible. As a lot of you guys know, I have not read the Bible. I'm not a biblical scholar. Very interested too. I just want to really devote the time and energy to do that when I'm going to do it. But I love the principles and I love talking about the principles. And Ghost posted this, so I found a longer version of it. It's perfect with what I was talking about with Ship. It's perfect with what a lot of us talk about with what we consider toxic unity. And I don't know how you even say these things. Luke 12:49-56. Okay. This is right now my favorite biblical passage that I've ever seen. I have come to set the world on fire, and I wish it were already burning. I have a terrible baptism of suffering ahead of me, and I am under a heavy burden until it is accomplished. Do you think I have come to bring peace to the earth? No, I have come to divide people against each other. From now on, families will be split apart, 3 in favor of me and 2 against, or 2 in favor and 3 against. Father will be divided against son and son against father, mother against daughter and daughter against mother, mother-in-law against daughter-in-law and daughter-in-law against mother-in-law. Then Jesus turned to the crowd and said, when you see clouds beginning to form in the west, you say, here comes a shower, and you are right. When the south wind blows, you say, today will be a scorcher, and it is. You fools! You know how to interpret the weather signs of the earth and sky, but you don't know how to interpret the present times. Holy shit. Get that man a show. Get that man a show on Badlands. That's all I'm saying. Pretty based. I'm going to start telling some people to check out some of his other stuff. Jesus. He had some, but holy shit, that's a banger. That's a banger. I've talked about the flipping tables, which is a great analogy, but maybe there's other context there, etc. Guess what? If the path to understanding Jesus requires the study of biblical lore and all of that in depth, then it failed. My view on this is that can greatly enrich your understanding of these things, but all of this is interpretation, right? It's all interpretation. How many biblical scholars out there vehemently disagree with each other all the time? Ash, Ghost, and their guest there, what was his name, Rice? Is it Ben Rice? Sorry, not to be rude. I hadn't seen the argument yet. But I know it was a great argument, a great conversation about their interpretations of biblical Israel as an example. So other people might interpret that passage from Luke in different ways, which is fine. My interpretation there, however, is that division is not only okay, it's the point. It's the point, right? The trap that I think truthers and a lot of Q people fall into, and I am one of them, I am a Q person, they won't have me anymore, is they confuse division with being anti-Eric Rice. Sorry, Eric Rice was the guy on that show. They confuse division with anti-unity. And it's not a contradiction. Those are not contradictory points. You can be unified around the truth while wanting division. And I think that's what he was saying there, right? Like, you think I came down here to tell you the truth and just have everybody just be like, okay, I guess that's the way now. Sure, whatever. What is that? That's a new consensus formation. And it's not real if people don't argue about it. It's not real if there's not division. So the truth brings division, right? I am not a biblical scholar. You don't have to be one to understand the first principle there. It might help you if you're not, because then you're able to engage with this stuff without dogma that's been programmed into you from whoever programmed you about the Bible when you were 11 years old. Whoever first taught you what all the passages means had an asymmetric influence over the rest of your interpretation of this stuff in the future, which isn't your fault, but it's the same way people who are raised in liberal households have that, conservative households have that, biblical households have that. If you are telling people how to interpret this stuff, you're doing it wrong. The way to do it is, I interpret it this way. This is how I interpret this. What do you think about it? And then disagree, which is great. I think the disagreement is great. But I think there's a lot we could learn from that and apply it to the truth community, most of whom repost biblical quotes all the time. I don't see that one posted much. Man, that's the first time I've ever seen it. I've been in the truth community since 2017, since the advent of the Q drops, what we call the truth community. I have never seen that. I've never seen a single truther post that until Ghost did. I'm sure some have, right? I'm just saying. Certainly it's not one of the popular ones. Why not? Why isn't that the one that everybody posts all the time, every day? Why isn't that engraved on everybody's profiles? That is the info war. That's the mantra of the info war. Like those are words to live by. And I just think it's really encouraging. It's really cool to see. I'm sure there's a ton more there. But the reason I think that that's good is it shows you, like, what do people think it means by put on the armor of God? They think like, make sure nobody questions your interpretation of a message board from 2017. Are you fucking kidding me? You think that's unity? We reached the promised land and everybody knows the truth from now on because we all refuse to question your interpretation of the most complex information dissemination program by your own admission ever launched. Retard. That is retarded gatekeeping bullshit. It happens with the Bible. It happens with the truth community. It happens with the Q community. It happens with MAGA. It happens with liberaldom. It happens with academia. Human beings are gatekeepers and they set up power systems and have struggle sessions and humiliation rituals, and a lot of them don't even know that they're doing it. So if you're afraid of division, you're being a bitch. If you're trying to stamp out division, I don't mean killing each other in the streets. I mean disagreeing strongly because you believe strongly in principles that you're trying to advance. That's what being an American is. That's the idea of what being an American is. It's not agreeing with each other. It's the polar opposite of that. And man, have a lot of people gone soft, or they always were soft, and an info op and liking Donald Trump gave them, in their minds, narrative shielding to just continue being the same pussy mindset that they already had, where they want everybody to agree with them. They don't want any disagreement. They don't want any threat to unity and what they consider unity, which is narcissism and its weakness and its bullshit. And it's not how you get to the world that we're trying to make. It's not how you get back to something like the founding. Unity is not how you fucking do it. And if you want to go away from Jesus and Q drops and all of that, which, by the way, I think advanced this. Jesus obviously did. I think the Q drops were aware of this and talk about this. Think for yourself, right? Does think for yourself mean we have the correct interpretation of this decode? Those people who questioned our decodes are bad people and they're not real truthers. Is that what it meant? That's what think for yourself meant, right? Power back to the people, that's what it meant. It meant boost this influencer over and over again. That's not what it means. So, I lost my train of thought. If you want to go beyond Jesus, you know who else brought a lot of division to the country? Donald Trump. Did you like Donald Trump because he unified the nation? He hasn't unified shit. And that's good. That's a good thing. He has stood in his principles and advanced those principles uncompromisingly and steadfastly. That's what Donald Trump represents. That's why people unified around him. They unified around the most divisive political figure in 100 years. Donald Trump is the most divisive person in the world in about a century. And that's good. That was the point. The point was the division. And after the division happens, after the seas are parted, if it comes back together, and if it comes back together in an organic way around first principles, morality, logos, all the rest of it, belief, spiritual belief, then that is good. Then that sort of unity is probably likely to last for a long time. That sort of unity around family, around not religion, but belief, around God, around truth, around justice, right? Truth, justice, and the American way. The "and" there is a trick. Truth and justice is the American way, right? Around that stuff. So I just I was really thankful that Ghost posted that when he did, because it's just relevant to a lot of different things, micro and macro. But that post, that True Social post by Jesus back in the day on the socials, it was great. It was great timing for me, and it really solidified that stance in me to just be, who I am. You all be who you are, even if you're retarded. And it made me think of Trump. Right? That's not to be blasphemous and say like, oh, Donald Trump and Jesus are the same thing. Donald Trump came to cause division, came down the escalator and divided the country. And he said, pick a side. Get on this side of the line, get on that side of the line. And argue about it for the next decade. So I think that is really good. And I do not think it's a threat to unity. I think it's the only way that we could ever have a chance of building a real and lasting unity that actually matters. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on whatever I was just talking about. Who knows at this time? I did want to bring up an actual topic, which is the weekend crash. I've been writing about financial stuff. A lot of people know. Hopefully you guys like that, right? If you didn't, then I don't know. Then you know what? I trapped everybody in a bicameral rant there, because if you agreed with it, then that's good. And if you disagreed with it, then that was the point. See how I did that? So I'm either right or wrong in the right way. And that's what I like to do. That's what I like to do to John in particular on Wednesday nights. Watch a little bit of the light leave his eyes every time I play both sides. That's what I like. So weekend markets, this is Zero Hedge was the only, I won't call them mainstream, but alt media outlet that did call this going in, which a lot of truthers did as well. Not a ton, but enough. So they said on October 10th, this is all about the China posts of Trump, right? Zero Hedge, October 10th, Friday, said odds of a Trump Sunday evening post. Had a great call with China's wonderful President Xi Jinping, and our relations have never been better. Look forward to our meeting in 2 weeks. Thank you for your attention to this matter. This was what they said they thought the Sunday Post would be. And what was the Sunday Post, you might ask? From Donald Trump on Sunday. Don't worry about China. It will all be fine. Highly respected President Xi just had a bad moment. He doesn't want depression for his country, and neither do I. The USA wants to help China not hurt it. President DJT. And my very, very short version of this. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But my take on this at the time was Donald Trump is currently gearing up to accelerate the final decoupling arc against China in the same way he'll escalate the peacemakers arc against Russia, all of which is by design, all of which is with purpose, all of which I wrote about 3 years ago. And I said this at the time. In order to form a mesh of sustained peace and prosperity, you need regions of responsibility on a micro and macro scale. I have long considered the current macro capable of enforcing or at least defending a mutual sovereign mesh to be the US, Russia, and China, which is why China is in the current crosshairs narratively. But much like Russia, I believe the deals are done on an actual level and have been for some time. The decoupling, in other words, is mutual. And said, why the secrecy? Why not be direct? China, rather the story of China, is a different beast as the collective Western mind has been seeded with the idea and germinated with the actualization of the prospect, and then the fact that from the perspective of the globalist hegemon, one empire gains directly from the other's losses on a sovereign scale. The relationship between the US and China is different by design and not the design of sovereign men. Due to this complexity, codependence, and the sheer economies of scale, the decoupling era between the US and China will be more fraught with socio-political peril. This was 2022. I republished a lot of these writings in the Doomed Dynasty mega post, which is really a series. That's at burningbright.substack.com. Strap in for that one. But, the gist of this is, I think the decoupling with China on a narrative level is more difficult for Trump to navigate than Russia. Because I notice it. I mean, I get very little pushback from certainly the Badlands audience and even to some extent the larger truth community when I talk about Russia and the Righteous Russia series and all that, right? And from Q people. The irony is, we all know the infamous drop. Kirill Dmitriev was recently boosting it. What if Russia, China are working with Trump against whatever the fucking saying is. You guys know the post. Let me look it up to be sure. Yeah. What if Russia and China are working with Trump? That's what really seeded that into my mind early on. But how many in the truth community start freaking out when you bring up China? And then they'll be like, yeah, but Russia and Trump are definitely working with each other against the deep state. And then you bring up China and they're like, nope, trade war, they're horrible. I think the decoupling there on a narrative level is more difficult for people. But I think, when you can write on Thursday or Friday, I did it, Zero Hedge did it, and said, this is fake. This is not a real dispute. Trump and Xi are engaging in kayfabe, and I know people get tired of that, but there's a reason for it. Because I believe that they are executing an economic and financial pincer on the central banking apparatus, and specifically on globalism itself. It's a mutual decoupling. And when people say, well, why the bullshit? Why the back and forth? My interpretation of the bullshit is face saving. Face saving is a concept that a lot of people in the truth community and even in Normieville have been exposed to this year, which I think is good. Mostly in the context of the Middle East. We're told like the Iranians need to save face. Donald Trump has been educating people about this for the last couple of years. Well, the Iranians need to save face. So, they said they needed to strike one of our depots, and I told them, okay, that's fine. We get it. But you better not do it again. That's the Iranians saving face, right? Donald Trump is saving face all the time. So last week, China is forcibly decoupling itself from the United States system, and the United States is doing the same with China. Each leader, Xi and Trump, are navigating nationalist bases that want them to appear as strong men toward the other one in the midst of admitted actual economic strife and market volatility and actual volatility that has been going on since Trump's first term, when I first said that him and Xi were engaged in a mutual decoupling. So the Q drop about Xi and Putin working with Trump obviously seeded that idea. But what I've really tried to spend the last few years figuring out is how are they working with Trump? It's not enough for me to stop at they're working with Trump. Okay, cool, whatever. I don't understand anything that's going on with markets. I don't want to understand how they're working with Trump. I don't know whether or not the Ukraine stuff is good or bad, but I think Putin's working with Trump. Like, that doesn't do a lot for you. It might give you some sort of baseline level of comfort, macro level of comfort that things are going to be okay eventually. I think it's pretty damn encouraging when you really dig into this stuff and you start seeing the signs and projecting them in advance. I know some people get annoyed by it, but when I post Doom Dynasty and I say, hey, I wrote this in 2022, people are like, easy with the victory lap. The reason you take victory laps, besides being a shithead, is you're trying to say it was possible to figure this stuff out with the information we had at the time, which is really encouraging because it means that the chaos that's going on right now is possible to figure out. And you don't need drops or even Donald Trump to tell you what's going on. You can figure it out. And the premise there is Russia and China working with Trump to decouple from the globalist system? If you operate on a hypothetical that that's possible, you then have to ask yourself, what would they be doing to bring that about? I think that Putin is doing it on a kinetic level. He's got, I think, NATO in a pincer, him and Trump do, which I've been talking about on recent shows. With Xi, I think it's economic. I think that this is a forced decoupling, and it's good for the U.S. in the long run. What a lot of MAGA doesn't talk about is that it's also good for China in the long run. And Xi knows this, and Trump knows this, which is why Trump follows up fire and brimstone rhetoric against Xi when Xi is making economic maneuvers against the United States. Who's suffering the most? Globalist corporations that call themselves American, that are being forced to decouple and reshore supply chains. That's happening in the United States. That's also happening in China. But there is pain on the way there that Trump and Xi have to navigate, and each of them has to blame that on the other one. So it's kind of like, honestly, it's sort of like the Sovereign Alliance bros are dealing with a bunch of children that have been engineered that way, writ large across society, even their nationalists, maybe especially their nationalist contingent. They don't understand how a decoupling like this happens. So they're like, this is going to get a little dicey for some people, especially for some big companies, especially for stock portfolios and for currencies at large. Okay, well, let's blame the other person, which is why, bring up another long form I wrote recently that people liked. I wrote about this recently in The Villains We Need. Total inversion of the New World Order. This is all about these pincer moves between Trump and Putin and Trump and Xi against the globalist superstructure. Globalists are the ones really upset today that the markets crash and are rebounding. Not Trump and not Xi. Yeah, people are talking about gold and silver. There's a reason those things are pumping right now. Bitcoin crashed and then pumped again. What else did I have? Did I have anything else? I think that's good enough for some rants. I'll grab you, the people. I'm going to return power back to you, the people. After this show, you are free to watch whatever show you want. That's my gift to you. To do whatever you want. But not in a satanic way of do what thou wilt. In like a more based way. So that's what I think's going on there. Check on the boost situation. I think we are caught up there. Oh, you know what? Let me hit a couple of last sponsors, which remain ourselves, starting with Soft Disclosure.
They say confidence starts with smooth skin. And baby, Soft Disclosure lotion delivers.
I swear by this stuff. Like, I kid you guys not. This is the first lotion I've ever had in my entire life that, like, I don't get ashy after I put it on any part of my body. Like, my hands are always dry, and my hands have not gotten ashy without, like, rinsing them through water and washing them with soap since I started putting Soft Disclosure on. Like, it is Black Man approved. I kid you not.
Black Man approved. You heard him. And let's be real. If it can handle his hands, it can handle anything.
Feet are like, they get so dry, like the heels of them, it'll just kind of like flake off. Like, but with Soft Disclosure, once you put it on, like it starts to absorb it.
Yeah, he went there. Don't worry, we won't show you his feet, but trust us, they're smoother too. Soft Disclosure Lotion is made with aloe, goat's milk, honey, and our exclusive oil blend that actually restores your skin barrier. Visit softdisclosure.com, use code BADLANDS, and get 15% off.
Leave it to the black guy and the Mexican to make everything about race, right? Typical. But I'm glad Cam's feet aren't as ashy anymore. That's good. Soft Disclosure, check it out. People actually do like it. It's unironically very good. Willow Wind Farm, shout out to them, who have an alpaca, one of my sons, named Burning Bright. There's an alpaca named after me. Back when I was a more likable version of whatever I am now. So check that out. And the other, not sponsor, but want to let you guys know, Gart Cocoa Beach comes up in, holy crap, like 3 weeks. This is madness. 3.5 weeks. Cocoa Beach, Florida, November 6th to the 9th. Tickets are on sale. Come see us there. Looking forward to hanging out with you guys. I saw somebody recently say that Gart was like what they imagined the founding was like. Not in terms of the speakers, but in terms of just all the people going there. Oh yeah, Ash is going to be at Willow Wind Farm soon, and she promised to give me footage of my alpaca. See how he's doing. I want to know his like general disposition relative to the other alpacae that are in his presence. I feel like he's better than them. And I want him to, I feel like he knows it. So I want the updates. Gart Cocoa Beach, badlandsmedia.tv/events. Virtual tickets are on sale now. That will give the Telegram chat is open, by the way. So that's one of the biggest kind of value adds for people for the virtual Garts, besides the fact that you get the virtual Gart. They are heavily discounted rates through the 15th or to the 15th, which is just a few days from now. Then they go up just a little bit, but they are still going to be lower than they have at previous events anyway. So we've made those cheaper. I think they used to be like $47 for the virtual weekend pass. Now it's like $35. Next few days it's $30. Grab a ticket, gets you a link to your email to the Telegram chat, which is open now. There's already a lot of people in there. Shit disturbing. There's still some people in that other Deadwood chat. I mean, like, the Deadwood chat was cool 2 months ago. Even a week ago, it was pretty cool. But I don't know. There's like all the cool stuff's happening in the Cocoa Beach Telegram chat. So I feel like, I don't know, if you're not in it, I really question your unity, question your commitment. So anyway, check it out. We will see you there, or we will feel your presence, your disembodied presence in the chat. Dak sent $5 over and said, I'm putting $5 in the swear jar now. I don't think there was any swears tonight. There might have been like 3. There wasn't many, I don't think. There could have been. There could have been a few. Secrets, here's my $5 for the swear jar. Ash, I'll give $5. That's uncouth. Extremely uncouth. Rhinebeau, swear jar challenge met. Tom Terrific, $25. We have a new granddaughter, so here's a little bit for the cause. Thank you, Tom. And congrats on the granddaughter. That's awesome. Little baby Bright is not so little, and he's standing up on stuff and trying to climb stairs and being a little... Oh, it's so funny. I make this noise when I'm going to get him. Like I start revving up, like I'm going to go get him. And now he starts cracking up and tries to crawl away really fast. It's funny to see him figure out what the game is. At least I didn't curse in front of my baby, Ash says. Yeah. I don't know. I'll work on it. By the time he's like 20, I'll have cut down a bit. I didn't even know I was somebody who swore, to be honest. I kind of just think of it as, I don't know. Swear. Do you guys consider me like a swearer? I just wasn't really aware of it. I feel like they're just kind of added. It's like salt and pepper. Put a little salt and pepper on the rants and just talking about anything in general. I think Trump has said similar things. Trump speaks much differently in private. The holier than thou crowd kind of shut up after he did the they don't know what the fuck they're doing epic. Art Pirates. Oh, Eleanor for the swear jar from someone who doesn't use that word. Well, thank you, Eleanor. Appreciate it. I think there's enough to cover us there. There's enough to cover us, I think, for the show. Art Pirate, I don't say it, swear, but I think it's so. Here's mine. That's very bad of you to think about that. Micro, I got secrets. The swear jar is getting full-ish. Really? This was at 9:55. See, I was like jokingly swearing toward the end, but I actually didn't really think we did swear at the first hour. Who knows? Siesta Randy, you two are like fire tonight. Thank you. Thank you. Glad you enjoyed it. I'll have to do that again. Melindy, the Christian nationalist, can eat the entire case of dicks. Do they come in cases? I think they come in bags. So you're going to have to take that up with Ash. She's a big expert on multiples of that and sort of how they're packaged. She talks about it all the time. Melindy, I got. Peyton Pooh, for not being Bible scholars, you and Shipwreck nailed it. If your heart is right, you have a message. If not, stay firm in moral actions of love. God bless Badlandia. Love you all. BB and Ship Fire. Thank you. Yeah, that's how I feel about it, right? Like, first principles have to mean something. If there had to be a secret cheat sheet to being a good person, a guide, sure. It's good to have a guide. But these things should be inherent, and I think they are inherent. And I think these teachings and biblical teachings are fantastic ways of completing that feedback loop. But, you know, I do not believe that morality is assigned to us. It's something that's inherent, that comes out of you, or it does not. And it's a choice. Buzz Balls, the fact that you have zero tolerance for the bullshit makes me happy. Thank you, Buzz. And again, I know I use the Q stuff as a sounding board sometimes. But again, there's a Q show on right after the show that I think is going to be fantastic. I think I know Alpha's show with Josh is getting a lot of great feedback. And there's a lot of great stuff out there. There's a lot of great commentary. Jordan Sather and I were joking, you know, when he was on the narrative 2 or 3 weeks ago, that he gets called like a anti-Q person, and he was the first person to decode Q drops on the internet, and still does on occasion, not all the time, obviously. But anyway, you start getting down that rabbit hole, and it's like, man, are we setting up? Are we trying to figure out what's going on and figure out the future of the country, or are we setting up some churches? Because like this is where we are, and you're not allowed to talk about it because you don't get it, and you don't talk about it in the right way. Kind of like the "you can't sit here" thing. I'm not sure that was the point of unity. We are all unified, but you're not. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Before I get out of here, though, I am actually going to get out of here before the 3-hour mark. So take that, people who thought I couldn't do it. I want to leave you guys with an appeal to check out a couple of different things. Number one, check out the Badlands Media Substack. I edit a lot of the features here. Well, all the features here. Matt Errett's been writing. Speaking of pissing people off, Matt Errett's one that I just edited, and we put this out Friday. Shadows, Sovereigns, and Civil Wars Part 2. That's a great two-parter. The second one's pretty spicy. He says some stuff in there I don't agree with about, you know, he's not a big fan of Steve Bannon, but hey, we don't try to police that stuff. He could be right, he could be wrong, but we just let people at it. And as long as we're trying to march in the same direction, and then also the Badlands News Brief, Monday through Friday, hits your email inbox. I'm telling you, speaking of cheat sheets, this is like the cheat sheet for the info war. Ash has been managing the news brief. Her and Ghost go through a lot of the stories of the previous day. So the brief that comes out on Wednesday, it's about stuff on Tuesday. It hits your inbox Wednesday morning, and it is, I read it every day. It's a cheat sheet where it it sort of recontextualizes the info war from the day before. And then I think it sets you up. It's like it greases the rails, not for what you should think, because obviously we try not to do that. But just, I think it gets you thinking of these things in an asymmetric way, in an info war, truth community way. And usually, as we all see, point of this show, the narrative evolves, right? Because they're pre-engineered. They're usually not reactive. They're pre-engineered narratives, good, bad, and everything in between. So when you go into Wednesday with the brief in your mind, kind of as you see the bullshit hitting, whether it's from Patriots, psyoping us for good, or whether it's the other guys, you've got that mental mesh already kind of operating and running. So check it out. It's free. If you guys want to support us over there, we do pay our writers, and that's a way you can support us to support them. Badlands.substack.com. Check it out. Sign up. Get the brief every day. And then before I get out of here, I put out a long form of my own today. I was working on this last week. A lot of great reactions to this one. I was surprised. I was like, are people going to think an article about Scott Bessent is really boring? A lot of you guys really liked it. So this is The Wolf of Main Street, Donald Trump's secret weapon against the puppet masters. You guys know, if you've been watching these shows, I'm really interested in Scott Bessent. I'm really interested in a lot of the narratives he deploys. And recently, I think a lot of this stuff is coming together in really interesting ways. I didn't even have the Argentina stuff in here. Chris and I were talking about that via DM a bit earlier. But there is, as Scott Bessent himself said in 2024, an economic decoupling. And digging into how that may or may not be happening is really fascinating. That's what I've been interested in lately. And one of the things I talk about in that article is the idea of, I don't see a lot of people talking about this, but I think like we're talking about it at Badlands. The fact that you've got Donald Trump seeding the Soros name all summer, the Kirkening happens, you've got Soros and the dark money networks being put front and center. You've got Caroline Levitt bringing up Scott Bessent and saying, yeah, we've tapped him to help us look into who's behind Antifa. You've got the Conservative Research Center putting out a paper right after the Charlie Kirk assassination about George Soros being connected to Antifa funding. Then you've got Scott Bessent who wants to look into Antifa funding. And do you guys know which fund Scott Bessent became famous for engineering one of the biggest asymmetric trades in world history on behalf of in 1992? Soros Management. He was George Soros's money guy. So who knows where the bodies are buried? Why do you think Scott Bessent is in the administration? Do you think he's being assigned to an Antifa investigation by coincidence? I mean, come on. This stuff, it's almost like it's on easy mode, but it's fun. It's really fun stuff. It's really encouraging stuff. So go check that stuff out if you want. burningbright.substack.com. Really appreciate the people who support us at Badlands, and a lot of you guys support us independently. And if you can't support us financially or anything like that, share the stuff out there. This is streaming to the Badlands main YouTube channel that John, we're streaming to there now, because we'll see. We'll see if the chains are actually off. We'll see if the algorithm does or doesn't like us. Man, that reminds me. I don't have an app set up that is saving me rants or super chats or anything from YouTube, so I apologize for the people that donate over there. I have to figure that out and make it all feed in. But shout out to the people watching over on YouTube. Appreciate that. We'll see if we get any, traction over there. But either way, you guys have followed us to our individual platforms, to Badlands, and anywhere you do support us is greatly appreciated. And if you can't, just share the stuff out there if you like it, if it makes you think. It's helpful. Please hit the thumbs up button. I never say that, and it really makes a difference. So appreciate when you guys do that too. Deborah Starr's couple rants came through at the wire. Our true birthright is to express love, truth, and life. You are on the right track, BB. Thank you, Deb. Mrs. Real Freedom Fighter, love to you and your family. Thank you. They're doing good. We are overwhelmed, overworked, but it's all good. Everybody's healthy. We're going to figure our routine out. We're going to figure our work situation out. And yeah, we're happy. We're happy parents. So shout out. I'm going to outro with the intro. As I always say, the war is a story. The story is a war. Check out Q After Hours coming up in 20 minutes here. And until then, I'll see you next week.
We were sleeping. I've been sleeping. I've been turning away from a truth I wanted not to face. There is a wound that won't heal at the center of the galaxy. There is a darkness reaching like rust into everything around us. We let it grow, and now it's here.
How many men have you killed, Malone?
I don't know.
50? 100? Countless.
Countless has a nice ring to it.
And how many lives have you saved?
500,000. Population of King's Landing. Tell me if your precious Randy commanded you to kill your own father and stand by while thousands of men, women, and children burned alive, would you have done it? Would you have kept your oath then?
Our time has come. We prepared. We grew stronger. While you rested in your cradle of power, you were trusted to lead the Republic. But you were deceived. You assumed no force could challenge you. And now, finally, we have returned.
The visions are clear now. I see possible futures all at once. Our enemies are all around us. And in so many futures they prevail. But I do see a way. There is a narrow way through.
It's not a prophecy. It's a story that you keep telling, but it's not their story, it's yours. They deserve to be led by one of their own. What your people did to this world is heartbreaking.
We gave them something to hope for.
That's not hope! We have survived by hiding from them, by running from them. But they are the gatekeepers. They are guarding all the doors, they are holding all the keys, which means that sooner or later, someone is going to have to fight them.
I wish none of this had happened. So do all who live to see such time, but that is not for them to decide. All we will have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us.
Forgive me. I did not see. I have failed you all. You will bring me. Captain Armor, I do not know what strength is in my head. I swear to you, I will not let the White City fall. Our people fail. Our people. Our people.
I wish you good fortune in the wars to come. And now it begins. No. Now it ends.